Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of intense, fast and furious racing action in the League Zero Formula Series Season 17 as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing and proudly presented by none other than INCA Salsa. As we make our way deeper and deeper into the second half of the season, we have made our way from Germany all the way to neighbouring Italy, and we have arrived at a classic destination, arguably one of the truest and oldest power circuits in the world. Opened in 1922, I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Autodromo Nacional Monza, a circuit which has gone through multiple revisions over its extensive 104-year history, but the one thing that has never changed around here is the theme, which is full throttle every step of the way and heavy braking zones await at the end of the long straight, and come the end of it all, who will be the bravest on the brakes and the fastest on corner exit? And that's exactly what our drivers need to contend with today as they look to take on its absolutely brilliant 3.6 mile course. 11 corners at the core, many of them chicanes and a couple of sweepers as well. It means overtaking opportunities are going to be plentiful, and if it's not battles on the straight in the slipstream, well, definitely it's always going to be the battles and the anchors, and come the end of it all, somebody will have to win each of our races. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this post-round broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in today. And whilst the date today may be Valentine's Day, and a happy Valentine's Day to you all, we're here to show our love for the Formula Series at League Zero, or it being Saturday the 14th of February 2026. The race in action you're going to be seeing did not happen today. Indeed, it happened a couple of days ago, back on Thursday the 12th of February. Therefore, we do not know what's happened in the practice session, which is currently ongoing, also the upcoming qualifying session, or our two races, and it's going to be as close as possible to the raw live viewing experience for you guys and girls tuning in at home as we get set for round number 6 of the championship. In the content if you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, and you're catching all this racing action on a weekly basis on YouTube at the one and only place you can catch it, and it's at youtube.com and search for Paul Walsh Productions or PWP, and you can be tuning in there. And as we get set for tonight's post-round broadcast, what exactly is our schedule? Well, we can see our times there in Eastern Standard Time, that's EST, or Universal Coordinate Time -5, UTC -5, and as we can see in a proxy, what will be about 12 minutes time, we'll be making our way into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration, everyone out on circuit, and somebody will be aiming for that pole position more than most. After those 15 minutes, and at 9:15, we then make our way all the way around to 9:30, and with that, we head to the grid for the first of our two races. Up first, of course, will be our 8-lap sprint. That'll be a very quick race. Indeed, we should expect it to be done well within the 15-minute window, as all our drivers there will absolutely be going for gold from the outset, after which then we take a brief breather before returning at just around 9:45 this evening for the 26-lap feature race, where we times the race distance by just over a factor of 3. We add in an all-important strategic pit stop, and therefore our drivers will need to use a little bit more smarts rather than brawn in order to get the job done then, try and bring home the win in the feature. But as we make our way into this round, well, how about we give you a recap of the story so far and what the stories could be coming into today. And without further ado, let's take a bit of a trip back in time. And as we can see, last time out, as we look to our calendar, on the 5th of February, we were in Germany at the Nürburgring Grosse Preisstrecke, or its GP circuit. There in Germany, we got to see some shake-ups in the Drivers' Championship, no doubt about it. Perhaps the biggest one of the all was a waylaying of Fitzsimmons' charge to his third title, in the fact that Adam Merchant was able to surpass him in both qualifying and the sprint race, with Fitzsimmons in the end being runner-up to what was Merchant. Meanwhile, in the feature race, whilst Adam Merchant pulled off an absolutely incredible dive up the inside into turn 1 to mean that he went from 6th all the way to 2nd by the end of the first apex, and by the end of turn number 3 on the open lap, he was already into lead. For Fitzsimmons, it was far from fantastic. If anything, it was the race of nightmares, where all went wrong early on with a major incident, and then after the pit stops, contact between himself and Leo Delmar meant that his race was in pieces and he had to retire from the race. So therefore, it's opened up a doorway, perhaps, for many of his championship rivals now to close down the gap, whereas it really was the day where Adam Merchant was able to make it back-to-back victories in Germany, and therefore that momentum is now started to build, and we'll see very shortly how it has affected the championship standings coming into the 6th round. But here we are today then, in Italy at the Autodromo Nacional Monza. It's Grand Prix Loud, of course, playing host to drives. Why would it not? And after today, in a week's time, we're making our way to Spain, and on the 19th of February, it will be at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia's historic layout, where drivers will need to be dealing with the sultry sun of Spain and see who can come away there at the world's most famous tested circuit. But staying in the here and now, here in Italy today, well, let's talk a little bit about the championship standings, shall we? How we've come into this round. Because as we can see with the Drivers' Championship top 15, Fitzsimmons right now leading on 141 points at MSR Purple. He's still very much in control, 50 points ahead of everybody else. However, the British driver now knows the man who's got his sights most firmly set on him is into second. Moving from 5th to 2nd, as for his performances in Germany, Adam Merchant has finally found his way there. Now, can he break away from the rest of the field and close the gap and reel Fitzsimmons in? Because rounds are gradually running out, and after today, we only have 3 more rounds to go. It's not long left. The Squid Game Racing driver will be very eager to try and bring that one down, albeit Elliott Court there will also be galvanised, given the fact that we did see him in the end bring on home what was back-to-back podiums last time out, and DDK Racing team really trying to go for all in on the podiums, and it did work out very nicely for Court in particular, with what's the 3rd place in the sprint, and also the 2nd place in the feature race. So some huge points for him, even if he argued was 3rd or 2nd best to the 2 men in front of him. However, he now sits on 84 points, the best part of 7 ahead of Fabian Sanchez, who has slipped slightly on down the order, and then we do see Leo Damal there sitting in 5th, the Frenchman, and right now it was not a happy day in the end with the feature race incident between himself and Fitzsimmons, but he does know as well there's still more time if he wants to try and chase down the top 3 in the championship for Rodent Racing. Elliott Rolls there sits in 6th on 64 points after what was his disqualification for the sprint race right at the end, when he did in the end look to pick up some great points, but it all went wrong due to a black flag packed up on the on lap number 3, and he never served the drive-through penalty for it, so it was transitioned into a disqualification, but he was able to bounce back from an absolutely ludicrous position all the way down in 16th place in the feature race, and he was able to tear his way through to 3rd. It was an incredible performance from Elliott Rolls, and it just goes to show you can never quite truly count him out. Jace Meyer sits in 7th there on 50 points, 2 ahead of Shahi Zaher as they continue their season-long rivalry, and Craig Brick is also in the fight there, a further 2 points behind in 9th. Antonio Bianchi, well, what a frustrating day it was for him in Germany. After a sprint race which wasn't too much to shout home about, in the feature he put together a brilliant performance. However, there was a huge incident between himself and Elliott Rolls on the final lap going through the Vidal chicane, and in the end for Bianchi it was a tow to the pits, whereas for Rolls he was able to crawl to the finish line. It was adjudged to be a racing incident post-round, however both drivers there refused to give way, and unfortunately somebody had to give way, and it was Antonio Bianchi who lost his way as a result. He now sits in 10th place. He's 2 points ahead of Jaden Callaway, who's best of the rest. We haven't seen on the grid for some time. We do hope to see him back in the near future. And then for the INCA Chips driver there of Gareth McAllister, a huge loop up to 12th place there, ahead of Nick Peterson, James Turnbull and Shea Bruffett, who complete your top 15. Outside the top 15, currently sat in 16th place is Demont Dotson on 11 points there, and how good it was looking for him last time. He was really looking strong and put some great performances in both races. We're looking forward to seeing whether the Formula America racing team can go further today after a bit of a disappointed end to his feature race. However, he definitely showed us that he's got a lot of pace under the hood. Nicholas Isidro sits in 17th there, and he had a strong start to his season last time out as he made his debut ahead of Sergei Perok, with Austin Thomas and Jack Mundy round off that top 20, and Thomas losing several spots there with limited points gained. Then 21st, it's Reyerson Lowe ahead of John Stumbrar, with Philippe Ramos, Xavier Zainab and Joshua Cronin completing the run to 25th place. And equal points for 25th at the moment is Cronin, Francisco Sosa and Ryan Thibault. And then we do have Cameron Nix, Robert Nobles and Matt Strong rounding off your top 30. Outside the top 30 from the INCA Salsa Racing driver, it's also -4 points to Catherine Sweat in 31st place or 29th equivalent. And then we do have Carlos Balanos, Aaron Gersler, Arturo Bioca and Ricardo Espino rounding off the Drivers' Championship coming into round number 6. As for the Teams Championship, meanwhile, well, here we can see it is MSR Purple who continue to lead. However, their advantage has been slightly reduced given the fact it didn't quite work out for the team, whilst Jace Meyer was able to pick up a solid haul of points with 2 top 5s in Germany. And that's offered them some relief given the fact that it went all wrong for Fitzsimmons in the feature race. The damage has been done to a degree, and 3 podiums out of 4 potential attempts in Germany for DDK Racing, meanwhile, has moved them just that little bit closer. They're now 43 points behind. Squid Gang Racing as well, they continue to move forward. They have moved ahead of INCA X51C, given the fact that Adam Merchant is showing no signs of slowing down at the moment. However, they really do need a partnership there. They need Jaden Callaway back if they want to have a real contest for that team's championship, given the fact one driver doing all the work right now may not be enough. But you never know, to be fair, what could happen in the twists and turns of the League Zero Formula Series. And that can be said for INCA X51C, who will need to try and bounce back today, a further 12 points adrift. But in turn, they are comfortably ahead of Rodent Racing, who really earmark the rest of the field fighting over 5th. They're 4 points ahead of Arrive and Drive Racing, and it's a further 20 to INCA Salsa Racing. And then round off the top 10 there, it's DDK XTH Jordan, head of INCA Chips and Raccoon GP, with INCA Chips moving from 13th to 9th, scoring some solid points in Germany, just ahead of the Raccoon GP team. And in best rest in 11th place, its Formula America Racing team ruined what could have been for Demont Dotson if a few more points had come his way in the feature race, but they're ahead of Team Boats by 4 points. And then last to have positive points, it is MSR Green, and on negative points due to post-round race penalties, it's INCA Salsa Verde and INCA Queso who complete your 15 teams in the Teams Championship. So let's talk then about our circuit for today. It is none other than the Autodromo Nacional Monza's Grand Prix layout, located near the city of which it takes its name, Monza in the Lombardy region of Italy. A circuit which is absolutely revered around the world, and this circuit layout should not be unfamiliar to you, particularly if you're a big fan of Formula 1 or any GT class style of racing. A huge thank you to iRacing.com, of course, and not just their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely superb track maps that come with it. A circuit consisting of 11 corners, 3.6 miles, indeed all these corners household names, because our drivers roar their way down the start-finish straight. They'll very quickly make their way into the opening chicane. Prima Variante, as it's formerly known, for what we all normally refer to as Rettifilio. Coming out of the first and second gear apexes there, they'll make their way all the way flat out through Curva Bazzano, at which point from turn 3 in towards 4 and 5, it's a faster second chicane, Seconda Variante, also known as the Regia chicane. As they go from left into right, they're a bit more of an open complex, they'll then make their way into the middle sector and the sweeping bends of the Lesmos, turns 6 and 7, Lesbo 1 and Lesbo 2. Out of there they'll go, they'll sprint their way down the Curva del Serraglio, or the Serraglio straight, under the old oval, and then they'll make their way in towards Ascari. Variante Ascari of turns 8, 9 and 10. The medium to high speed chicane, where it's all about getting the best possible run through turns 8 and 9 to set yourself up to go flat out on the exit of 9 through 10 and roar your way all the way down towards Parabolica Curve at turn number 11. And that's the medium speed late apex corner, where it's all about that corner exit line and get it right and carry all the speed to the outside and keep it within racing limits. And what you'll find is you'll carry all the speed on the start finish straight to do it all over again, or to at long last see that checker flag. And before we go racing, as always, a quick reminder of the rules. Car setup-wise, this is a fixed setup series with drivers provided with a setup by the League Zero administration ahead of each and every race session. Fuel loads will be restricted to 40%. That will mandate a pit stop in the feature race, albeit do keep in mind there are no mandatory pit stop requirements as such, but normally the fuel tank does mandate that. In qualifying, the session shall be open, but there is no overtime in the session. So everyone's out on circuits for 15 minutes, but they must get the job done within the 15 minutes. When the clock strikes 0, if a driver is on a lap, that lap is disallowed, and we take their previous best lap as their qualifying position for the sprint race. And when we do come around to the races, well, they'll commence via a standing start, as is the tradition of the League Zero Formula Series. A drive-through penalty shall be awarded at 17 instant points. Should drivers go any higher beyond that, well, the instant points will keep on occurring, and I do believe more drive-through penalties will come. But in terms of the grid for the feature race, well, we'll be setting it based on the results of the sprint race, albeit we invert the top 6 finishing positions. So what does that mean in layman's terms? The winner of the sprint starts in 6th position for the feature race. Meanwhile, we continue that inversion until we get to the 6th place finisher in the sprint, and they will start on pole position for the purposes of the feature race, and those who finish 7th and downwards, you guessed it right, that's exactly where they'll start in the feature race. And do keep in mind, there's no mandatory pit stop requirement there. If drivers think they can no stop it, they're welcome to, but we normally do see a pit stop in the feature race at least. And that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. We're all here for the racing, so why don't we go back to circuit side? And as we do, we are not too far away. And getting ready to make our way into the qualifying session with only 2 minutes or so left on the clock at the top centre of your screen. And, well, Adam Merchant, he's been keeping things in reserve in this practice session, given the fact that he's only got out onto the circuit now in the last 5 minutes or so, and already second fastest out there as he is picking up the tail of a car in front. Now, do keep in mind, in the qualifying session, we are not expecting our drivers to be allowed to use the push-to-pass button or the overtake button, for which they do get 200 seconds of it allotted to them in the races. As we see Merchant going side by side with his rivals, and that being the machinery there of none other than, I do believe, James Turnbull, who steps aside, and they do get a little bit of practice of going too wide through the Regia chicane. But why is it significant, the fact they get no overtake button in qualifying? Well, the reason for that is because what it means for our drivers, it is going to be the classic Monza tradition, whereby all our drivers will be looking for the slipstream off of one another. And if you've ever watched a Formula 1 Grand Prix around here, particularly in the last decade or so, you'll realise the fact that you do get the shenanigans that go on right towards the end of the qualifying session, where everyone is trying to queue up behind another car and their teammates in order to be able to gain the toe of the next car. Nobody wants to do a lap in clear air around here because of how long the straights are and the fact that it is going to be worth at least half a second overlap, if not more, by having a toe. However, we'll have to wait to see who's the most patient of our drivers and what silly business potentially goes on. But as our drivers all heading around, Adam Merchant right now is definitely the one who is not thinking of silly business. He's thinking about solid and critical business, which is chasing down Fitzsimmons, who currently is making his way out of pit lane. There he is. He makes his way onwards. He's currently parked up. The MSR Purple driver there, just letting the DDK Racing team car go. I think Fitzsimmons is finally getting going. I think a little bit of practice launch there of the car in the pit lane, and we just decided to get himself warmed up a little bit more. Back on the grid today, we do see a Rival Drive Racing Shahiza here, which is absolutely wonderful to see, and the team are back here in full force. And we do see the number 10 driver here who's been building some momentum, and of course that absolutely incredible run to a podium at Road Atlanta in the feature race in his incredible battle all the way to the finish. And well, we're very happy to see him back here today. Currently 19th fastest, but then again, practice is just one point of the story. It's not worth any points. Qualifying's worth a few points for those who qualify right towards the front of the field, and in the race, of course, is where the damage needs to be done. But Zahir makes his way on around through turn number 3. We look forward to seeing his return to the grid and what he's going to be able to do. And for all the drivers, we're very eager to see what they can do here. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the clock strikes 0. It is time to make our way into qualifying. 15 minutes. Who's going to put it on pole? Let's find out here at the Monza Grand Prix circuit in Italy. And so into qualifying we go, but as the clock starts to tick away, well, 15 minutes gradually counting down. It'll feel like a long time around here given how quick the laps are, but the reality is far from it. They'll very quickly find 15 minutes becomes 10, there it becomes 5, there it becomes 0. And as everyone immediately piles their way out the pit lane, including none other than Jace Meyer there, who we get a lovely close-up of. Well, they do need to respect the pit exit line, but once they've done that, then they'll be making the way onto the tarmac, and they'll be looking to not have to worry about anything else other than the lap they can do. Now, how important is qualifying around here at Monza, the question is? The answer, quite significant. Oh, that's a big knock to the wall there. That's Elliot Rolls going straight into the barrier. And, well, Rolls, they get it rolled coming out to turn number 2, trying to get the power down. The car completely gunned around straight away. So, if Rolls there, that's going to be a tow back to the pit lane. That is going to cause his progress to stumble. So, to be fair, they do get unlimited tow to the pits in qualifying, so therefore it's not as bad as it would be in the race, but there's no fast repair available, and the tow, you do have an extended period of time to wait. And thankfully, nobody else being caught up in that incident. But the importance of qualifying around here is quite high. Now, it does sound a bit contradictory, given that there's going to be a big emphasis on slipstream around this circuit. Do you really want to be qualifying right on the front row? Yes and no. The argument for no is the fact that if you are the lead car in the run down towards turn number 1, then you have no tow. So everyone naturally will build 1 to 2 miles an hour more compared to the cars behind them in the run to the heaviest braking zone in the world, and the most dangerous braking zone in the world, many would say. Well, some would also argue the opening corner at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben is just as dangerous, but we're not going to go there, as we do see other drivers going a bit wide in the background. That's Antonio Bianchi getting it back together. Ascari seemingly claiming in there in the rear of the picture, and, well, an easy mistake to make and not a happy one from him, as we do see him now getting himself back together and getting the dirt off the tyres and trying to get some lateral side heat into the tyres. But as he makes his way down, so in terms of qualifying, you want to arguably, if you're on the front row, you have that confidence that you are going to lead the battle into turn 1, but you want to ideally be within the first 3 rows of the grid in qualifying. That way, you can pick up tow, but also it's the fact that as the racing goes on, normally what you will see happen here at Monza, you will see the field splinter into packs, and it's that splintering that you do not want to be on the victim end of, whereby you fall into a secondary pack rather than the lead group. That then all plays down to the smarts of drivers in racing. Who's fight each other hard? Are people letting each other swap back and forth? And we'll definitely potentially see in the feature race a lot more position swapping, whereas in the sprint race it might be a bit more aggressive because we only have the 8 laps in the sprint compared to the 26 of the feature race. But in the feature turn, that means that fuel saving starts to become a factor, tyre management also becomes a factor, and we are expecting that tyre wear around here is perhaps not going to be as significant as some of our other venues, such as the Nürburgring last time out. However, you do want to try and manage those rear tyres wherever possible, because spinning them up, particularly with so many low speed corners and therefore huge acceleration zones, well, the more tyre rubber you can save for later on in a given stint, the better you're going to have in terms of that grip, and therefore the lower the risk you have of spinning up the tyres and going spinning around on corner exit, which is very easy to do when you have the best part of 550 brake horsepower being delivered by the what is the 4-cylinder 2-litre engines of these Super Formula SF23 machines, powered by Toyota and Honda engines. Drivers choose it, of course, but they are all balanced points and regulated to a single formula. But as we do see our drivers making the way on around, we're going to start to see those first lap times coming in. Albeit one driver right now who's definitely looking for more is Leo Delmar, as he was weaving from side to side there. He knows there's more work to be done. And, well, how about this? We're going to jump on board with him for a flying lap of the Monza Grand Prix circuit. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, as Leo Delmar takes us on around. So down the start-finish straight he goes, and as he roars his way on down, tyres up to maximum temperature and already in excess of 185 miles an hour as he breaks his way very shortly from 188 all the way down from top gear to second. Through the rest of the video chicane he goes, making sure not to take too much apex curve at turn number 2 because it's a much higher curve. Now flat out all the way through Curva Bazzano. He'll build up the speed once again, getting to the best part of 178 miles an hour where he looks to break down, perhaps even getting to 185 here, but as he brings the car over to the right hand side, he'll look for his marker. It'll be the marshal's post on the right and braking there about 130 meters per quarter apex trail, braking on down to third gear, holding a higher gear here to improve traction on exit, and that's Regia. Now into Lesbo 1, there's no brake marker, it's all on memory, braking about 50 meters per quarter apex, dab of the brakes just to get the weight pitch forward, and now in towards Lesbo 2, looks to his left for the 50 meter board, dab the brakes once again, drop a gear, chuck the car in, runs a little wide, that's going to invalidate that there, but Delmar's going to carry on because he knows that time's of the essence. So now powering his way all the way up towards Ascari, Ferrante Ascari, and as he does so, will bring the car in the middle of the road there and brake it on down now, looks to his right hand side, braking about 100 meters per quarter apex, down 2 gears to fourth, and now flat out all the way through turn 9 into 10, making sure not to hit the apex curve, otherwise that will send the car into the stratosphere, given the sausage that's on it, and as he makes his way on down in towards turn number 11, well, Delmar right now to get himself settled once again for an even faster lap, looking to the left hand side, brake at the 100 meter board, and rolling the car down from 6th to 4th gear, and now flat out all the way on exit, using the air of the car to pull the car through the corner, and he knows after running wide at Lesmo 2, there's a lot more work still to be done, but for Leo Delmar, as he crossed that timeline, it won't be counted as a valid lap, given the off track, but still a very close one, and if he had been able to get that lap together, he would have been looking at around what would be 6th or 7th place alongside Nick Peterson and Matt Strong, so there's still more time out there, and the Frenchman knows he's got to put a little bit more effort in to tidy up those racing lines. But still thank you to Leo Delmar for the onboard, and as he makes his way onwards, well, how's it going for some of the other drivers? We do look to Robert Nobles here, the MSR Green driver, who's definitely had his form gradually improve as the season has gone on. Williams currently with no lap, so therefore he's got a bit more to do here. We've still got over half the qualifying session. We do have a couple of drivers with penalties as well coming into this round, particularly pit lane starts for 2 drivers. That's Austin Thomas and also Sergei Protter's car round there. That's Redison Lowe, who's had a big spin there as he gets himself righted in the lovely sponsor shaded car, and as he brings himself back together in number 69. Well, that's definitely not a nice spin there coming out of Retvideo, but needs one to be done. He's currently the lowest place driver who has a valid qualifying lap. As we mentioned only moments ago, Sergei Proc and Austin Thomas both have qualifying bans, and I believe Austin Thomas is not in attendance today, but Sergei Proc definitely is, so he's currently sat in the pit lane. We've also got Shea Buffett and Ricardo Espino parked up in the pit lane at the moment, so they might be opted to start from the back of the field for the purposes of race number 1. And it's sometimes valid strategy. Oh, goodness me, that's a bit wide from Redison Lowe. And right now, definitely not able to find the limits between what is essentially too hard and too slow. He needs to find that Goldilocks zone if he can. But of course, it's not easy to do in these Super Formula 23 machines. And even the very best out there will make big mistakes. But make no mistake, Adam Merchant right now, the fastest of everybody by the best part of half a second. Finley Fitzsimmons doesn't have a response at the moment, but I do imagine that right now Adam Merchant has perhaps picked up a toe, whereas Fitzsimmons is still trying to find one. He's lifted off there, tucking it behind Merchant, and well, I wonder if the 2 big names at the front of the championship might be having a bit of a silent agreement here, which is they're going to help each other out in qualifying, a bit of a gentleman's agreement, if you will, whereby if one driver gains the toe of another, it's implied that then the driver who benefited will then give the toe back to the driver who gave them the toe in the first place. It's not a written rule or anything on those lines, but it is a bit of a mutual agreement at Monza, or the gentleman's agreement, for the simple reason to get the best lap times around here, you really do need the slipstream of another car. But in itself, it is a very hard thing to try and work out the slipstream of another car because, understandably, when you're going down these long straights, as they get ready to go into turn 11, the amount of speed you pick up off of the car in front of you is proportionate to how close you are. Now, we're not going to go too much into the science here, but the point being, if you start the lap too close to the car in front, then you will get too close to them by the time you get halfway down the straight, as Adam Merchant pulls aside there. So it looks like the 2 of them might not be sharing a gentleman's agreement here, but the point being, if you get too close, then you suddenly find yourself impeded by the car in front, and unless you can argue very cleanly to the steward that the car in front was not on a valid qualifying lap, it is a slam dunk situation whereby the lead car has the right away in qualifying. Unlike, let's say, for example, in the race under blue flag conditions or anything along those lines, it really is the situation whereby the lead car says so, and meanwhile the car behind has to be smart about it. And that's why it does seem as though for Finley Fitzsimmons this time, Merchant just let it go, and Fitzsimmons is still going to be left without a toe, as Elliot Courtney picked up a bit of a distant toe there off his teammate Elliot Rolls, the DDK Racing team. And well, right now, this team definitely looking to try and keep moving forward. And do keep in mind, of course, you are looking at the two drivers from DDK Racing team who were two of the big names in Season 16, with Elliot Court being your champion and Elliot Rolls being the runner-up. And we're back here this season in the team. And right now, it hasn't really been a season where it's gone quite right for both of them. They've had moments of brilliance, yes, but things have not gone completely right. And therefore, I do imagine that right now, with only 4 rounds left, they'll be very keen to try and make things right whilst they've got the time to do so. I think nothing less than the win today is the target for at least one of their drivers, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Elliot Court, because he has been the stronger driver in the season of the both when it comes to natural pace, but also consistency. But then again, Elliot Rolls, to be fair, has had some memorable moments of his own, including at Interlagos, so therefore don't rule either of them out. As Fitzsimmons does improve, he sets the bar even higher now at 28.075. I think proving they didn't need a tow for the entirety of the lap, although I have to imagine what would the lap have been if he picked up a tow for the entirety of it. Could we have seen a 27.9? I think we could have. So Fitzsimmons, therefore, knows there's all pace out there, but it's, can anybody unlock the pace to find that 27? They're going to need to work with another driver if they want to be able to find it. Further down the order, Gareth McAllister right now, currently in 18th place, still looking for a bit more time, but the lap times are starting to condense, and that's why the other things as well you normally see at Monza is because of the slipstream orientated nature of the lap for qualifying in particular. Normally it is going to be very close, and that's why we are not seeing a huge gap to our pole position at the moment, nor are we seeing a huge gap to the front row of the grid even. It is only the maximum of 2 tenths there between Merchant and Court, and then a further 2 tenths to Rolls from 3rd to 4th, and I wouldn't be surprised if that gap is going to narrow before this session is done. So one's going to be kept guessing to the very end. There is some natural ability here at the Monza circuit. It's not just simply so long as you find a tow, you're going to have the best possible lap out there. You still have to nail those chicanes and also nail the medium speed bends, such as Parabolica Curve, but the slipstream does minimise the gap, if you will, in the apparent skill gap between the fastest drivers and also perhaps some of the slower drivers who are still learning out there, and therefore, even with our slower drivers, if they pick up a mammoth tow, they could really launch themselves all the way up there, and that's why it's always interesting in qualifying Monza, it's exactly where people end up. Now, in terms of one driver who's not having a happy day in the office at the moment, it's Craig Brick here in the 777. Indeed, he's had some great performances, including standout at Road Atlanta, to name one, also Interlagos. But as he makes his way onwards right now, the INCA Salsa racing driver, knowing that 14th place or a 7th row start is not what he was targeting. And, well, if he finds a 10th, it's going to move him all the way up into what will be 12th place by default. If he finds 4 attempts, that's going to put him inside the top 10. So, therefore, he doesn't have to improve too much here. But, of course, time is of the essence. We've only 4 minutes left on the clock as Leo Delmar does move himself to 6th place. The man we rode on board with earlier on, he's finally found that time that he was looking for earlier, and well, the fuel load's also coming down at these cars, and that's another thing as well in this qualifying session. You want to get these laps in as quickly as you can, because they have restricted fuel tanks. They are not allowed to take fuel out of the car for the purposes of qualifying, and therefore the more fuel they can burn off in the qualifying session, naturally the faster they will go. But particularly here at Monza, when you really want the lightest possible car going around this circuit, and that's where you will see these lap times get quicker and quicker all the way to the end of the session. But as he makes swam through, we'll look to Felipe Ramos as well. And, well, the lovely liveried machine here of your number 73 driver goes on down, and let's ride on board with him for a flying lap. So the Inca Quaso driver from Brazil looking towards Retivilio. Looking to the left-hand side of his brake marker, braking there what will be the 100-metre ball, combs it way too late, and as he does so, the car goes spinning around, and for Felipe Ramos, that went around before he could even get it really underway. So I think there, just seeing how late he could brake, and in the end, well, as soon as he passed that 150-metre board, it did look as though he was going to miss his braking zone. I think he's realised there he can't brake that late anymore, so we'll leave him there for now. But of course, experimentally, he won't want to do that in the race, understandably, otherwise I think it will be the entirety of the steward's guidebook being thrown at him if he was to come in very late into turn 1. That's one of the other things as well. Monza turn 1, indeed, it sends a shiver down the spine of any driver, whether they're a rookie all the way through to a veteran, just because it is one of the tightest and heavier braking zones in the racing world, and when drivers are coming down in excess of 170 miles an hour, and keep in mind, of course, the cars at the very front of the field will be about 10 miles an hour slower than those at the very back of the field at that braking zone. The concertina effect is absolutely gargantuan. Hopefully we'll see all the drivers make it safely on through today. But as we do see James Turnbull come across the line, he improves to a 28.676. And a Craig Brick now by the best part of 1.5 tenths. Brick improves to 9th place. Robert Nobles jumps up to 19th, so he finally gets a lap on the board. Ricardo Espino's gone out there, and right now Espino in the number 90, yet to get that lap on the board. And we'll know that right now he's got to find some time out there. Shea Buffett and Sergei Proc staying in the pit lane. Well, he makes swam down here at Spino. He's not going to have time to get a lap in, so I think this might be a bit of a warm-up, and he's just deciding to go out there to gauge the conditions and also perhaps to help his teammates under 73. But this is getting a little bit awkward as they all swap it around, and well, it didn't quite work out there for Felipe Ramos, and meanwhile the car that made its way on past them, well, we couldn't quite see who that was, but we can see Jace Meyer coming to the timeline, and that's going to be his last lap of the board, and it's not an improvement for 11th place. The MSR Purple driver, slightly underperforming in qualifying compared to what we normally see, but he knows that a 10th would have only seen him move all the way up to 9th place, and it really was 3 tenths or so that he needed to get closer to the likes of Elliott Rolls. Fabian Sanchez, meanwhile, leaves it late in the day to go 6th, but well done to him. That's a good effort. We're a minute and 10 seconds now left on the clock. Leo Del Mar comes to the timeline. Can Del Mar go even quicker? The answer is no. He stays 5th. Can anybody else find some time out there? Well, Elliott Court's coming out the final quarter. Can he play catch up to the front row of the grid? He's currently the best part 1.5 tenths down. Picks up a distant toe there off of Rolls, and Elliott Rolls moves up to 3rd. I think Rolls might be the beneficiary on that lap. And Rolls now, it's going to be a DDK Racing team at 3rd and 4th here. They will lock out row number 2, with Shahu's ahead being demoted back down the order to 5th place. But meanwhile, Gareth McAllister, he's still got 40 seconds. He's got plenty of time. As you can see, the car slightly step wide there through turn number 9. But goodness me, the confidence you have to have as well, driver. You've got to have faith in the downforce. You've got to have faith in the mystical physical forces of aerodynamics. But when you do, the speed these cars carry through the Ascari chicane is absolutely eye-watering. But as he roars his way on through, and towards what will be the very end, well, 20 seconds left on the clock, and he's going to shorten that run to the timeline, brings it all the way over to the right, and as he does so there, it'll stay 15th there for Gareth McAllister, and I think that's going to be it, ladies and gents. But unless Fitzsimmons is cooking up the mother of all laps, he's going to squeeze it in with 5 seconds to go. Is he going to make it? I'm not sure. I don't think he is. No, he's not, ladies and gentlemen. That is qualified complete, and it is Adam Merchant who has taken pole position here today for the purposes of the sprint. But without further ado, it's time to head to the grid for race number 1. And so as they all make their way towards the grid, this is how they'll line up for race number 1, the sprint race in round 6 of the League Zero Formula Series Season 17, brought to you by INCA Salsa. Pole position has found its way to Adam Merchant for Squid Gang Racing, taking pole in the end by 3.5 tenths over Finley Fitzsimmons. The MSR Purple driver, our championship leader, knowing he's the man he's got to beat, with Elliott Rolls and Elliott Court, the two Elliotts and DDK Racing team, locking out row number 2. It's looking like it's going to be a good day for them if they can make this work, with Shahi's hair starting 5th. A very good qualifying performance there for the Arrive and Drive Racing drive from Sri Lanka, just ahead of the Frenchman of Rodent Racing's Leo Del Mar, who in the end was a 10th behind. Fabian Sanchez will begin his day in at 7th place there for INCA X51C, seen himself inside the top 10, but probably wanted to be on the 2nd or 3rd row. James Turnbull has one of his best qualified performances of the season, starting 8th there for Raccoon GP. Well done to James. Just ahead of Craig Brick there, who snuck into the top 10 right at the death of the session. The INCA Salsa Racing driver ahead of Antonio Bianchi for INCA X51, who you can always count on the fact he will be chasing that top 10. Outside the top 10, starting 11th, it's going to be Jace Meyer for MSR Purple, ahead of Matt Strong for INCA Salsa Racing. And then starting 13th, Carlos Balanas for Raccoon GP, just ahead of Nick Peterson, the other Arrive and Drive Racing machine, just not quite inside the top 10, but coming close. Gareth McAllister starts 15th for INCA Chips with late improvements in qualifying, ahead of John Stumbrar, with then INCA Quasar's Felipe Ramos starting 17th ahead of Xavier Zainav, and the Rodent Racing drive we followed up then by Robert Nobles for MSR Green, and Team Boats' Renison Lowe, who struggled in qualifying, and he'll be hoping to piece it together in the race. Outside the top 20, it's Arturo Mayorga starting 21st at INCA Chips, ahead of Demont Dots for Formula America Racing, and then with no laps to their names, Shea Bruffett for DDK XTH Jordan, ahead of Sergey Prop with a pit lane start, and it's also a pit lane start there. Well, in fact, I think it's just a start for the back of the grid for Ricardo Espina for INCA Quaso. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the grid all set. They are almost all ready to go. We are waiting for the last couple of cars, and Sergey Prop in particular, to make his way to the end of the pit lane, but when he does, it'll be very shortly for the lights to go on, and for the first time today, we are going to have 8 laps of fast, furious and intense racing action. Here we go. So lights go on, the revs rise, and in the Italian tempo of speed, it's going to be lights out, and away we go for the first star races today. If all tries to get away, somebody stalling at the back of the field. I think that's Redison Lowe, but as they make the way down towards what will be turn number 1. Here we go then to the heavy braking zone. Finney Fitzsimmons has got the better launch compared to Merchant. Odds the anchors, they all come, and as they do, well cold to the grass, they go sliding loose. That's Craig Brick going out wide, but otherwise everyone else is safely on through for now. By looks of things, they've all survived the opening couple of corners, or have they? And yes, they have, as everyone gets it back together. Somebody taking to the escape chicane there. They've been able to manage it, and all the drives now onto what will be the run towards Regia. It's been a good start there for Carlos Baladas. He's ahead and had an absolute nightmare start by comparison, dropping a long way down. Arturo Mayorga as well has had things go backwards, as immediately here, where it looks like all the drivers, they get ready to go to that braking zone. Well, there's going to be more fighting, or is there not? As James Turnbull, he's ahead in the end. Looks at the exchange, but Zuhair gets ahead of him, and now rolling away on around. And up towards the first two Lesbos here, I think things are going to cardboard down as we've got a bit of bobbing and weaving. I wonder if we've seen a safety car called in this race, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we have because of what's happened at the opening corner. So we are under safety car conditions for what is this lap as it cools things on down. And well, we will be behind the safety car for a bit of time. We just had that confirmed. So therefore, the instance that did happen for a couple of drivers have passed where it's the threshold for triggering a safety car. And where it particularly went wrong for Robert Nobles, Arturo Mayorga and Shea Buffett and Redison Lowe. And we'll get replays of what exactly has happened to them very shortly as the race is suspended and we will be behind the safety car for a couple of laps as the field goes to pick up the safety car. But as they all make their way onwards and that safety car being deployed, well, I think it's only appropriate we take a look back at the big moments from the start of the race. And without further ado, let's take a bit of a trip back in time and find out what exactly happened to several of our drivers. So this was the race start, of course, and we do look to the blimp camera not being ideal there, to be fair. So we look to other trackside cameras, and Fitzsimmons got the better launch out of the pairs. He made his way away between himself and Adam Merchant, but it went a bit wrong further down the order. As all the guys came through, Demont Dotson straight to the barrier there. Well, we didn't quite catch that on camera, so it went wrong for Dotson. Onto the grass went there the INCA Salsa machine, and who was that who ended up in the grass? I think that might have been actually Matt Strong, as Robert Nobles, meanwhile, car just coming to an abrupt halt there. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. Let's take a look back at Demont Dotson's race start. This was for Dotson, so he went away and pranged to the rear of the car in front. So we saw a car that had stalled. We did not see Dotson's car. So in the end, Dotson had the launch and hit the back of the car right in front of him. That explains their story. And then we had this for what was Robert Nobles making his way on down. And we did see a car go to the grass there. Well, it went wrong for them. Matt Strong going on loose. And meanwhile, oh, goodness me, under brake and they're being called out. Redison Lowe, well, not Redison Lowe, Robert Nobles, I should say, hitting the rear of a car in front and it brought him to a halt as Arturo Mayorga, meanwhile, just tried to survive in amongst it all. What happened, meanwhile, for Shea Buffett? We take a look on board with Buffett's car. And this was your number 79 driver here, back it off as much as possible for DDK XTH Jordan, just playing it patiently. So he gradually made his way through, up into the sky there went what was none other than the machine of Robert Nobles, and Shea Buffett opted to take the escape chicane there in order to be safe. So he played that very nicely, making sure not to get caught up, and that explains all your stories from the start of the race, albeit we also do have a bit of a story here from Matt Strong. This was his on board as he made his way down. So Strong, in fact, was the driver on the grass, not Craig Bricks. I do apologise there for the confusion, and the Salsa racing driver went on the brakes, felt as though he'd broken a bit too late there in the concertina, moved it to the grass and then suddenly realised a bit too late, as we do see there what was going airborne, doing his best impression of Freebird there was Robert Nobles. Well, Matt Strong in the end realising that the grass is not going to help him slow the Super Formula car, but to be fair, doing everything he could to avoid an into the instance. So well done to him for his sacrifice, and back to your live racing we go, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as we do, right on board with Fitzsimmons, currently following the safety car on around. And I think right now Fitzsimmons, indeed, many of these drivers all think to themselves that they want to get a move on as quickly as possible. That safety car, of course, being deployed, and Fitzsimmons just having to be patient. Now, we are going to be gradually making our way on to what will be further laps. We are on lap number 2 at the moment. Do not be deceived by the timer at the top centre of your screen. It will automatically update itself in due course. And of course, a huge shout out to Arturo Mayorga for the fact we do have the software to be able to bring you replay events of what has been events within a replay file on iRacing. Of course, this broadcast being done through what is a replay file supplied to us by the League Zero administration. A huge thank you to them. And then subsequently, because of Arturo Mayorga's brilliant handiwork as a software developer, he's right at the back of the field. But of course, he really is in pole position to deserve a lot of applause. Well, he has given us the ability to be able to bring these broadcasts as close as possible to the real live action. But as all these drivers cool down behind the safety car, indeed the safety car going so slowly here at Monza, that's going to be quite frustrating. And in terms of the amount of time we have remaining, remember these races are time bound. If we do not complete all the laps within 15 minutes, we will be bringing up the checker flag. And to give you an idea of how much time we have left, there's our race timer up in the top left of your screen for now. Just for a brief moment, we still do have 10 minutes left on the clock. So we have quite a bit of time. We are just within reach, potentially, of completing this race under the lap distance. However, we are going to be very close to seeing the 15 minutes expire. So we might be in a situation much like Miami in a way, where we will see the race curtailed to a degree, but we will hopefully see all the laps play out as the whole field right now just wait for the safety car to move on. And coming down this start-finish straight, to give you an idea, as these drivers make the way on down, the speeds they're picking up as we get the on-board pickup in terms of the dashboard in the bottom right corner of your screen of Johnston Bra's car only doing the best part of 60 miles an hour at most here, more towards 54 to 55 miles an hour, when these machines down this straight normally are topping out 190. It feels like it's a completely different postcode in terms of speed. Now, of course, we do have several cars in the pit lane. Peterson, Nobles, Lowe and Dotson, all with their retirements from the race due to damage they picked up right at the start. And unfortunate there for what was none other than Redson, Lowe and Mont Dotson. They couldn't even make their way 5 metres down that start-finish straight before it all went backwards for them. But still, that's the way it goes sometimes when you start so close, and how quick these cars launch, it can end up in tears very quickly. But hopefully we will see them back in race number 2. Nick Peterson has just made his way out of the pit lane, as I've been reliably informed. So Peterson, in fact, now has brought himself onto that lap. So therefore, the good news for him is the fact that he's not going to be losing out. He'll be battling for 22nd. But as oil dryers continue to follow the safety car, the lights are out on the safety car, which means at the end of this lap, we will be going green flag racing. And Finley Fitzsimmons right now, well, understand he wants the safety car to get a bit of a hurry up here. Unfortunately, he can't communicate to the safety car driver, but instead he just has to wait, but he just wants to go green. Because, of course, Adam Merchant being right behind, and whilst it may have been Adam Merchant took pole position, Fitzsimmons taking the lead out of turn number 1, and he'll be hoping that he can make the break right at the start of the restart, and therefore not be at risk of losing out. As we had it go wrong there, is that Elliot Rolls has gone round in the rear of the picture? Yes, it is. Rolls has gone round, he's gone backwards, but right now for the number 5 driver, he's missing the front wing as well. Well, that's not right at all. For Rolls, it's all gone from good to bad to worse. Can we get a quick replay to understand what's happened to Elliot Rolls? The answer is yes, we can. And here's a quick look back, ladies and gentlemen. So this was Rolls making his way along. He was in 4th at the time, and what exactly happened? So went into the Regia chicane and just was a bit too aggressive with the throttle pedal, slid loose and went into the barrier as well, loses his front wing. So for Elliot Rolls, well, it's an easy mistake to make, but such a costly one here. And well, it means the number 5 driver right now is going to go to the back of the field with a damaged car. This may have gone all eternally wrong. Without further ado, back to your live circuit side we go. And as we do, we're not too far away now from restarting this race as all the drivers carry on down towards what will be Parabolica. There's your leader. And well, as we get ourselves set for the restart, 7 minutes left on the clock. We are not far away from the risk of losing time, as we do see Rolls there going to the grass on the right-hand side of your picture. I think he's very eager to get into the pit lane right now and get that car repaired, but it will put into the back of the field regardless. Of course, they all make the way on through. Finley Fitzsimmons very shortly will start to bunch the field back up. He'll pull them back from the safety car potentially, and then there will be green flag racing for the remaining 5 laps here at the Monza Grand Prix circuit in Italy, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are going to run out of time, given the fact that we've got 6.5 minutes left. It'll be 6 minutes by the time we go green flag racing, but it's over to Finley Fitzsimmons to get us restarted. And he keeps all guessing, but it's lights out, and away we go once again as Finley Fitzsimmons roars his way away. And as they make the way down, bobbing and weaving from side to side here, trying to break the toe to everyone behind. With 6 minutes left on the clock, it's going to be marginal. But meanwhile, Elliot caught here immediately going on the attack versus Adam Merchant. Overtake buttons are plenty as they all make the way to the braking zone. All the field coming down into turn 1 once again here on a full restart. And right now, as they all come through, 2 by 2 by 2 they come. 2 by wide there for Sergei Proc versus David Zainav. And Indian Proc trying to go all the way around the outside. Can he get it done? A little bit of wheel spin there, but he was able to collect it together, but Zainav will hold him off at now. Meanwhile, Adam Merchant is still fighting here with Court, and Finley Fitzsimmons will be grateful for this. This buys him some time to break away. But how easy is it going to be for him to break away as they get ready to go in towards Lesbo 1? And the answer is not that easy, because Merchant is now able to pull some time versus Court. Big slide loose there from Fitzsimmons coming out to Lesbo 1. I think a few drivers struggling with grip as Elliot Rolls, meanwhile, battling with Leo Del Mar. But Rolls right now, despite the fact he's missing the front wing, he's still pushing on here, but that car is going to be suffering on the straight. It's going to lose a lot of downforce. It's going to have a lot of drag, and here comes Del Mar looking around the outside. Rolls tucks in immediately here, and for Elliot Rolls at this point, it's all about survival. Meanwhile, Finley Fitzsimmons is into the barrier. Fitzsimmons has got it wrong with Ascari. The car's gone round, and Fitzsimmons is out of the lead this race. It's all falling apart for the championship leader in Italy, and it's all gone wrong in Germany, and now it's going wrong again as it's gone wrong in the rear of the picture for 2 drivers. Who's that there? And well, not quite sure, but we do briefly lose everyone, and they rematerialise. But meanwhile, still more fighting to go here as we see side by side between Shea Profit and also Carlos Manos, and also Turnbull and Ramos. That's the main focus. As we do see James Turnbull, meanwhile, getting the move done on Felipe Ramos. Down they come towards what we turn number 1 as they fight. Well, meanwhile, on the run already down towards turn 1, we can see Fabian Sanchez fighting with Jace Meyer. Where on earth has Jace Meyer come from? He's come all the way from 11th all the way up to 5th. He's trying to take 4th here, but Sanchez says to him, no, you don't. And meanwhile, Zuhair and Rolls are on the back of this. So is Craig Brick. They're all making their way forward here, and some big names have dropped. But in their absence right now, some tries are making big names for themselves. There's no doubt about that. We won't be seeing a safety car anymore in this race, ladies and gents, I suspect, as all the racing now will carry on all the way through to the very end. But of course, we need to understand what exactly has happened to Finley Fitzsimmons, the biggest incident of them all, and also what went wrong for none other than Tony Bianchi only moments ago. Well, I don't think we'll get a replay of that, but we will be able to Finley Fitzsimmons, and indeed, we're going to take a look back in time. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, for a very dramatic moment for Finley Fitzsimmons. So this was Fitzsimmons in the lead, coming down into Ascari here, so comfortably ahead as the battling was all going on behind. Made its way through the open apex, took a lot of apex curb, and it just unsettled the car into the ban for Fitzsimmons. It was over like that. Back to live racing we go. Well, for Finley Fitzsimmons, an uncharacteristic error, but a huge one, and that's going to have huge implications in the championship, as meanwhile, Craig Brick now passing Elliot Rolls, who's still struggling on. Rolls just trying to survive here, but he's now outside the eligible positions for what will be the top 6 inverted grid for the feature race. But as long as he finishes this race, I think he'll be happy to get some points, if he can. But Adam Merchant, meanwhile, still has Elliot caught behind him. Caught right now, half a second behind. 3 minutes left on the clock. 3 laps left. We may just squeeze them all in. We will see. But as they come down to the braking zone, no change. Jace Meyer, meanwhile, under pressure from Shahi Zuhair. Zuhair looks to the inside. Can he find it? No, he can't. So therefore, he's going to have to wait his turn. Everyone right now itching for a move, but who exactly is going to be able to get rid of that itch? Who will be able to scratch it away? As Zuhair getting a really good run now, coming out of Retafilio, found his way onwards. There's been drama for James Turnbull further back. We'll come back to that shortly, because meanwhile, here comes Zuhair looking up the inside versus Meyer. Onto the brakes, he gets ready to go. Jace Meyer on the outside. It's going to be back on the brakes, and Meyer's got the confidence, and on that inside line, Shahi Zuhair's never going to be able to beat him unless he gets at least half a car ahead into that braking zone. So Meyer knows that, and he's able to hold on. Further back, oh goodness me, it's got a bit rolled there. That is Carlos Bananas who's gone around. He's gone spinning out at Regia, bounces over the sausage curve once, twice, almost thrice, and as he gets it back, points in the right direction. That's not called quite right at all for the 83 driver. I wonder if he's been aided on his adventure. We're not quite sure, but we'll leave that, because Felipe Ramos now is trying to pick off Elliot Rolls here. And going around the outside. Rolls is still going to defend it, but of course it is going to be all in vain when right now he is losing the best part of at least 6 to 7 miles now on the straights. In the braking zones, he's got a less stable car, and in the corners I can only imagine how much speed he is losing. But meanwhile, going on to what will be the penultimate lap, we will get, by looks things, the full 8 laps of racing in here, ladies and gentlemen, so the timer can go away. Adam Merchant right now sets the fastest lap of the race at 27.884. He is the only driver to set a 27 so far. He's still trying to break away from Court, who's keeping him honest as they get ready to break. Leo Domar, meanwhile, he's in third. He's in a very happy third with Fabian Sanchez closing little by little, but I think he's going to hold on there as meanwhile here comes the air up the inside of Meyer, but of course inside of turn 1's going to be the outside of 2, but Jace Meyer does not have a response other than stuck in behind. But I think this is all part of the plan as we run on board here with the man with the overtake button on. 110 seconds of it left. He could use it pretty much now for the entire rest of the race if he so desired. Well, here he comes, Meyer, looking around the outside of Zuhair into that braking zone. Look at the overspeed. Onto the brakes he goes. This surely has got to be all said and done. Zuhair's going to battle it outside to inside, but Jace Meyer in the end takes it. Zuhair playing respectfully, to be fair to him. Then we do have Peterson and Stumbra fighting over what will be none other than 11th place as John Stumbral there in the light blue and orange Golf livery machine, losing out to Peterson. We'll take a move in towards the Regia chicane. Still fighting going on. There's still some stories to be said in this race before it's all said and done. But right now, well, where is the rest of the fun going to be coming from? Well, I think it's going to be the Meyer, Zuhair and Brick battle. Craig Brick has been brought into this with the way they fought, and Meyer back ahead of Zuhair, of course, after that move into Regia. But it's all about positioning. Shea Prophet now moves ahead of Elliot Rolls in towards Ascari, and Rolls now down to 10th place here. The points are slipping out of his hands. This might be a 0-point race, but it will give himself a decent starting position for the next one. Jace Meyer fighting Zuhair again then before they go on to one final lap. White flag is out, so therefore we are going to do the full 8 laps. We've just about squeezed them all in, which is brilliant to see. And right now, side by side between Zuhair and Meyer. Here they go one more time, but this time it's Jace Meyer on the inside. And both of them with a push to pass on, which will increase their engine power, but it doesn't change the top speed of the car. And getting ready to go into the braking zone here right now. Meyer is ahead, but Zaire swaps back to the inside. Is he going to be able to get it done? No, he's not. He has to back off there. And Craig Brick, meanwhile, watching this at a distance and wanting to get a bit more involved. Meanwhile, Nick Peterson now trying to go around the outside of Elliott Rolls. He'll do that into turn 1, and he gives himself a bit of a buffer there to Johnston Bra, who's trying to chase back after him. But back to the Meyer-Zuhair Brick battle we go. Looking back here from the rear of Jace Meyer's car, and here comes Zaire looking up the inside. Decides not to there. Not close enough. Decides it's too much of a risk to go all in. They roll their way out of a gear chicane. Now in towards Lesmo 1, in towards that right-hander. Meyer, Zuhair and Brick all separated by only a second, the trio. And when the dirty air through these medium speed corners, that's definitely going to curb some momentum. But we'll see what else is to come out of the pairing as they roar the way now in towards Ascari. Only one more major set of corners after that to go. That'll be Parabolic, of course, and it's a sprint to the finish, and that's where it could all come down to. As we do see there's a hair pulling out defensively. That's more to look at Brick rather than Meyer. Well, meanwhile, looking to the front of the field as he makes way towards Parabolica curve. Well, he may have lost the lead right at the start, but after Fitzsimmons lost it all, Ascari on the restart for Adam Merchant here. It is going to be a third win in a row because the Squid Gang Racing driver will see the checker flag and he will be victorious here in race number 1 of the day at Monza. Elliott Court, second place, runner up there in number 1, and then Leo Del Mar returns to the podium with third place. What a drive from him. Fabian Sanchez takes fourth just ahead. Is it Shahi Zaire? Is it Jace Meyer? I think it is Shahi Zaire who just sneaks fifth off a Meyer at the line. Craig Brick takes 7th, he's happy with that. And then Philippe Ramos takes 8th place ahead of Shea Bravett. With Nick Peterson in the area round off the top 10. Best the rest of them surviving Elliott Rolls. Johnston Bra was 12th ahead of Matt Strong, who did very well to recover after his excursion on lap number 1. Arturo Mayorga finished in 14th in the end, avoiding all the chaos and drama. Just ahead of Carlos Valinas, who was completing the top 15. James Turnbull takes 16th ahead of Gareth McAllister. Speaking of whom, Gareth McAllister right now still got a bit of a journey to go, so let's see him all the way to the finish. Let's see all of them to the finish, ladies and gentlemen, if we can. And Gareth McAllister making his way out to the final quarter. And the number 25 driver here, 9. It's not been the ideal start to the day, but there's still one more race to get it right. And Sergei Proc as well, after what was the pit lane start, in the end he'll take 18th place. 9, that this race was all about setting himself up for race number 2. Well, as our first race complete, ladies and gentlemen, and what a race it's been. Early drama with the safety car, of course, after the open lap instance for a few drivers, definitely set things off, and then after that, we went back to classic sprint racing at Monza, albeit only for 5 laps, but in those 5 laps, my goodness me, did a lot happen there, and so much to unpick. But here are the race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, and as we can see, for our 8-lap sprint in round number 6 of season 17 of the League Zero Formula Series, brought to you on iRacing, and proudly presented by INCA Salsa, Adam Merchant, your winner for Squid Gang Racing, in the end held off the challenge from Elliott Court for DDK Racing, and well, the number 4 driver never looked back as Fitzsimmons left the door wide open. Leo Del Mar, meanwhile, was not quite able to catch up to Court, but he was very happy that third place finish for Rodent Racing, the Frenchman enjoying a return to the podium. It's been some time since we've been able to say that. And then Fabian Sanchez just missed out on the podium, but the INCA X51C driver picking up some valuable points involved. Shahi Zahair enjoyed a great fight with Jace Meyer and classified in the end by only 11 thousandths at line, ahead in 5th for Arrive and Drive Racing, ahead of the MSR Purple driver. But Meyer, as always, the ever-reliable Jace Meyer, bringing home key points. Ahead of Craig Brick, though, finished 7th for INCA Salsa Racing, and perhaps hoping there was one more lap to go. Philippe Ramos took 8th place, the INCA Queso driver in the end, not quite having the race of many in front of him, but in his own right, the Brazilian driver enjoying a solid run to a top 10 finish. Head of Shea Bruffett there for DDK XTH Jordan, and Nick Peterson completed that top 10 for Arrive and Drive Racing. Elliott Rolls took 11th, best the rest of DDK Racing without a front wing, surviving after his mistake during the safety car period, ahead of Johnston Bra, the privateer, who was only 2 tenths behind at the line, and it was Matt Strong, Arturo Mayorga and Carlos Balanas who completed the top 15 with the Raccoon GP teammates of Balanas and Turnbull. Well, Balanas in the end not really making too much progress, and for James Turnbull it all went backwards at the start. Gareth McAllister took 17th ahead of Sergei Proc. He was your last finisher, and then we did see non-finishers for Xavier Sainav, Ricardo Espino, and also the same for Fitzsimmons, the biggest casualty of the race, ahead of Antonio Bianchi, with Robert Nobles, DeMont Dotson and Renison Lowe all being ejected from the race on the opening lap. But the good news, ladies and gentlemen, is we've got another race to come. That was your 8-lap sprint, and coming up next is your 26-lap feature. And when we get to that, well, if the sprint race is any indication of what's to come, I suspect, I should say, as I stumble over my words, that it is going to be even more exhilarating. As all of our drivers right now make the way on around here, for those who are out on the circuit, that is, and we are in the throes of a warm-up session at the moment, so this is not worth anything. It's just to keep the blood flowing for those who want to do so, and it's also an opportunity for drivers to take a bit of a comfort break, and it's an opportunity for you guys and girls to take a quick comfort break. If you need to quickly pop to the bathroom, alternatively get yourself a bit of a top-up of liquid refreshment, or go grab yourself a snack, now is the perfect time to do so, because I promise you one thing, when we do head to the grid for our feature race very soon, you will not want to step away for it, because it will be 26 laps of absolute mad entertainment. And, well, if our feature races this season are anything to go by, here at Monza, it may just turn everything up to 11, as Spinal Tap would say. And, well, as we do see Shea Buffett making his way on around, definitely a bit of a rock and roll atmosphere around him and the team so far for DDK XTH Jordan this season. Rolling on the highs, but also rocking with the lows. And right now, the number 79 driver here, I think, hoping that today he can have an even bigger high in the feature race. And that's normally where he's been the stronger driver in the feature races. He just naturally and builds as time goes on, whereas some of his rivals, of course, much faster sprint drivers. And Johnston Bra, I think, feeling a bit unfortunate he didn't quite bring home a top 10 overall in that one, because he did look to have a bit of pace behind him, but I think in the end, with the disruption of the safety car, I think it just curbed his momentum and his pace a little bit. And some drivers as well, it's very easy to lose your rhythm when a safety car comes out, or you have that period in the race where it goes quiet, but still, hopefully, we won't see the safety car in race number 2. But we're going to heed our own advice and take a quick sip of water, ladies and gentlemen, so just bear with me. And, well, water refreshed, and we're all set to go here in the commentary booth. We've only got a minute to go. And looking to Arturo Mayorga, as he decides to make his way into the pit lane there. Practicing pit entry, I suspect. And that's something you can use the warm-up period to do, of course, is practicing your pit entry when you know there's going to be a pit stop, because you want to be the quickest into the pit lane, but you don't want to be too quick that you're going to incur the wrath of the automated stewards who will say that you were speeding in the pit lane, whereby you brake as late as you possibly can to the pit entry line, and you never want to be a mile an hour above the speed limit when you get to that line, because if you do, it is a slam dunk penalty. Laser technology will read the speed of the car versus the stated speed, and even if you are 0.0001 above it, you will find yourself hit with what will be a stop and go penalty, and you'll have to serve it in 3 laps to being awarded. So you have to make an extra visit to the pits. Nobody likes that. As meanwhile, Ricardo Espino, well, right now everyone likes this, and the fact he's out there in the INCA Salsa machine, looking very lovely in the livery, it must be said. We have only 20 seconds left to go. Well, he's going to very shortly be making his way to the pit lane, as they all are, because, ladies and gentlemen, here in Monza, we've already had one incredible race at the Italian Temple of Speed, as he gets it very wrong there coming into the Regia chicane, but he'll tow there. 9, there's not much more work to do, but after one incredible race, how about 2? It's time to head to the grid for race number 2 in round number 6 of the championship. It's time for the 26-lap feature here in Monza. And so as our drivers make their way to the grid for the second and final time today, this is how they'll line up for the feature race in round number 6 of Season 17 of the League Zero Formula Series, presented by INCA Salsa. It is a pole position there through the top 6 inversion of Jace Meyer for MSR Purple. He'll be very happy with that, despite missing out on 5th place to Shahi Zahir in race number 1. Speaking of Zahir, he starts second on that front row for Arrive and Drive Racing. Behind it will then be Fabian Sanchez, who starts third for INCA X51C, ahead of Leo Del Mar for Rodent Racing. Then we will see in 5th place, Elliot Court for DDK Racing, looking to try and make it a win in this one, as he couldn't quite catch up to Adam Merchant in race number 1. But the Squid Gang Racing driver starting in 6th, can he pull off his first lap magic again and make his way into lead before he gets to turn number 3? Craig Brick starts in 7th place for INCA Salsa Racing, ahead of Felipe Ramos for INCA Queso. He'll be happier for race number 1 result and be hoping to go even further forward in this one. But from the Brazilian driver, it will then be Shea Buffett, who starts 9th for DDK TH Jordan, ahead of Nick Pearson, who completes the top 10 for Arrive and Drive Racing. He had a very good performance in race 1. He's moved into the top 10. Can he move even further and make it a huge haul of points for the Arrive and Drive team? Outside of the top 10, starting in 11th. Damage limitation was the aim of the game in the sprint race, minus the front wing. The wing's been put back on the car for Elliot Rolls at the DDK Racing team. Can he now go for glory and go for podiums? The Scotsman's in the company of Johnston Brade, the American driver who starts 12th. Matt Strong begins as one in 13th place for INCA Salsa Racing, and he'll be hoping it's not a trip to the grass into turn 1 this time. Head of Arturo Mayorga for INCA Chips will be hoping he doesn't have to park up at the opening corner. And then we do see Carlos Bananas starting in 15th there for Raccoon GP. The Mexican driver in the company of his teammate James Turnbull on the 8th row of the grid, with row row number 9 going to Gareth McAllister for INCA Chips, and Sergei Prok there, the privateer. Completing the top 20, Xavier Zayna for Rodent Racing, the INCA Quasars, Ricardo Espino, and outside the top 20, let's not forget about them. 21st, championship leader Finley Fitzsimmons, hoping for the mother of all recovery drives in this one. He's done it before at Road Atlanta. Can he do it again here today for MSR Purple? Antonio Bianchi will join him on that length row for INCA X51C. There'll be Robert Nobles for MSR Green ahead of Vermont Dotson for Formula American Racing. And last but not least, in 25th place, it is Renison Lowe. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now look away down to circuit side. The lights are going on, and for 26 laps, it's about to find out who's the winner. And it's lights out and away we go here for our second and final time today as they all make the way away. Shahi Zahair having an absolutely brilliant launch, as does Fabian Sanchez. Making the way down here. It's going to be free wide at the front of the field as Jace Meyer gets caught up and gets called behind. Wins the brains under goes. Zahair will get clear then through the opening corner. They all make the way in. Do they all survive? Looks like everyone this time a little bit more cautious under braking. So everybody's safely on through. There's been a bit of a concertina effect there coming through turn 2. Somebody's lost a part of their car. In fact, there's a lot of parts. I think Renison Lowe's been caught up once again. Not quite sure. Can't quite see him at the moment. But otherwise they are all through the opening corner, and it looks like we are at full speed racing. In towards Regia they go, and as they do, well, Jace Mann Adam Merchant here. Merchant's had a slow start. He's still in 6th place. He has not gained any ground. Jace Mann, meanwhile, has lost out massively at the start of this race, dropping all the way down to 5th. But to be fair, for some, playing it safe has worked out, but not for all. As meanwhile, we have had a major instance at the Regia chicane. I think we have seen several cars get caught out, but I think we are still under green flag racing conditions. We'll let you know if we do hear a safety car has been called. But as all the drives make the way up towards the sky, we've got several more cars now that have had to tow to the pits, but we are still racing at full pelt. Further back, Sergei Prok here looking to go on the attack versus Carlos Bananas. And well, as he gets ready to go into that braking zone, will he be able to make the move here? The answer is going to be yes, no, maybe. Yes, it will be. And he gets like the inside of Carlos Bandos there and absolutely now moves into 15th place. A place gain for him, but at the front of the field, which are his hair still leading with Fabian Sanchez and Elliot Court with him as he comes towards the end of the first of many a lap in this feature race. And right now, Shahi's hair trying to break away as quickly as he can. So the lead is as follows. It's Zahair ahead of Sanchez, followed by Court, then Del Mar in 4th. Adam Merchant now started the battle with Mayer for 5th place. Does he get it here in the drag race down? We're going to stay transfixed to this rather than continue to run down the order as he's going to look for it, as does Sanchez on Court. Well, in fact, that's Court trying to make his way past Sanchez there. Up the inside he goes. Classic move there. Meanwhile, Adam Merchant does clear Jace Mayer in towards turns 1 and 2. So that's all changed between them. James Turnbull, meanwhile, he's looking around the outside there to try and hold off Sergei Prok, but Prok on the inside to outside line will take that very naturally. And well, nice and smooth move there from Sergei Prok. He is gradually making some headway. But back towards what we inside the top 10. Jace Mayer then has fallen to 6th behind Adam Merchant. Then we do have Shay Ruffett, followed by Craig Brick, Nick Peterson and Philippe Ramos, who completes the top 10. Having lost 2 places at the start, and well, careful Philippe, the suspension can't take that much of an impact on a regular basis. Bounced his way there off the Regia Apex curb at turn number 5, and if he continues to do that, I wouldn't be surprised if when he brings the car into the pits, the team will be saying, no, we need to hold you a little bit longer for some repair work to the suspension rods, because whilst these cars are quite durable when it comes to vibrations, those high curbs there, those sausage curbs, are no joke when you hit them, and well, these cars can snap very easily. But making his way down towards the Ascari at the moment, he won't be thinking about that. He'll just be wanting to make sure he doesn't snap under braking. Looking to Antonio Bianchi, meanwhile, started 22nd up to 12th already. He's on the attack right now. Lovely run there out to the Ascari. Here goes Bianchi around the outside then, John Stumbrar, and well, the distant tow as well being afforded to him by Philippe Ramos. This surely has got to be said and done. Stumbrar on the inside, does he fight it hard? The answer is no, he lets it go, and Stumbrar will just tuck it behind Bianchi here and hope that he can use him to be pulled up a little bit, as Finley Fitzsimmons now is starting to encroach as they make the way down the start for the straight. Fastest lap of the race going to Elliot Court, and then, well, in fact, hold up a second, because Elliot Court here is up on the inside of Shahi Zahair into the brains over turn number 1, and well, it's a classic move, but Elliot Court takes the lead of the race. Leo Del Mar getting his elbows out there from outside to inside, making sure that Adam Merchant can't make his way through immediately, but in towards Bizzardo right now. Adam Merchant says, I wasn't asking, Leo, and as they come through the right-hander, well, right now, Leo Del Mar here will have to defend the inside of the Regia chicane if he can, but the answer will be no. And then he waits behind, and Leo Del Mar losing out there as Adam Merchant meanwhile moving forward with Jace Meyer just behind him. So there's a change at the very front then. Shahi Zahair under pressure still because he's dropped from 1st to 2nd and almost runs wide there at Lesbo 1. And well, Fabian Sanchez all over the back of him like a bad rash as they roll the way out of the corner, but runs a little bit wide himself at INCA X51C, and therefore this is going to neutralise the gains he was able to make at the first of the 2 sweeping right-handers. But now Ascari comes up here, and if he can get a really good run through here, he might might be able to go on the offensive. The gap is 2 tenths under braking, but of course it will naturally ebb and flow as the head goes a little bit deep. He's offline there. Now surely Sanchez has got to capitalise on this. The answer is no, he's not quite close enough. He did get a very good run through the corner, but I think Sanchez right now is opting not to use the overtake button. I think he wants to keep it in reserve. I think his game plan is he knows that Shahizair will fight him hard. We saw this between the two at Road Atlanta in that infamous battle for the podium when Ian Sanchez outbroke himself into the chicane on the final lap and lost it all, but he's got to play a bit more of a tempered game here. Zahair is not an easy driver to pass, but he thinks that he's got the ability to get the upper hand on you. But down that start finish straight they come. All these drivers right now still together. Fitzsimmons, his next target is going to be Felipe Ramos here as he tucks into the toe of the number 73, and well, surely this is going to be all on the brakes, and Ramos in the end does not fight it too hard. Fitzsimmons ducks up the inside, confidence under braking there, the best part of about 10 metres of distance, and well, Fitzsimmons gets into 11th. So his crusade through the field continues as Ramos and then Stungbra a little bit further behind, and then we do see James Turnbull and Sergei Brock. Well, Brock has now found himself up again a bit of a brick wall here because James Turnbull's not making this easy for him, and Brock right now is going to be looking to what will be the inside. Turnbull goes defensive here, so James Turnbull says the buck stops with me, and as they go onto the brakes he gets it stopped very nicely, and Turnbull going really defensive here, but to be fair he's enjoying himself battling with Sergei Brock. Keeping in mind of course points are only awarded down to 12th place, so right now they're fighting for no points, but they are fighting positions and also fighting for a little bit of pride. But from their pride, right now we do look to the pride of the field at the front, and we do see Adam Merchant making his way around the outside of Fabian Sanchez, who lifts off there on the inside in towards Ascari, and I think right now he's playing a much more tactical game here today, albeit Leo Demar is closing. Oh my good lord! What on earth has happened there to Shane Buffett as it completely goes all wrong? Antonio Bianchi has won the number 17 into the barrier. It's all wrong between them, as meanwhile Adam Merchant and Shahizair go too wide in towards Parabolica Curve, and suddenly Adam Merchant up into second place here as they make the way onwards, but down towards turn 1 they go, and as they do, both drivers here with the overtake buttons fully on now, and will Merchant all the way to the inside, and meanwhile Shahizair on the other side. It's almost as if they've been told to go off the sides of the room as they make the way down towards the braking zone. What Adam Merchant did, surely he's going to have the run of the brakes. So here in the end finds Fabian Sanchez, tries to squeeze his way on through, but Sanchez goes deep, and there's contact with Del Mar, and in the end Sanchez goes around. Now can he get that car turned around? Can he get it restarted? He'll first roll it backwards off the road to make sure he doesn't get caught up by any of the cars coming up through, but he's got to wait a long time before he's able to get turned, and so he does now, but he drops all the way down to 12th place. My goodness me, ladies and gentlemen. Well, for Fabian Sanchez, that's going to roll very quickly, but with all the batting taking a bit of a breather, and it gives us the perfect opportunity to take a bit of a breather here and understand all the big moments at the start of this race, and we've had several of them, and we are going to take a look back right to the race start and what happened firstly in the opening lap to Renison Low. So this was down into the braking zone for the opening corner of Retafilio, and it looked as though there everyone was safely through, to be fair, apart from this man. So everyone had constituted the way through. Renison Low coming to a bit of a stop. There was already some damage on the road there. I'm not quite sure whose car that was who got picked up, but somebody lost some pieces. But in the end, they all did make their way through. Renison Low did survive it, and then it started to go a bit wrong. This is what happened to Elliot. Oh, hold up a second. Well, we're going to catch it now, and this was the car that Elliot Rolls already damaged. Went spinning there as he tried to carry on. Fitzsimmons took to the escape road. We did see this, and this collected several cars. My good lord, Matt Strong caught up in this as well. This was the on board for Matt Strong, and he's going to see it go roll for Rolls and Fitzsimmons. So it was Elliot Rolls who'd lost pieces of the car, and Matt Strong then had no way of escaping, and after that he's a passenger in the car, and everyone else just piled into the scene. Absolutely biblical there, and well, this was what it looked like for Gareth McAllister as he made his way in, while the latter cars into the group. He tried to react, and in the end he did do almost so, but unfortunately for the INCA driver, it did not quite work out in the end, and well, so many cars caught up there. A nightmare incident. I wouldn't be surprised if the stewards going to be absolutely having their hands full after the racing today. But that was the big incident, and then we did see what was this only moments later on lap number 3 for what was Finley Fitzsimmons again. So Fitzsimmons having to make a lot of progress here, and well, he tucked in behind the 73, made his way in towards Parabolica Curve, and made his way out of it. How wide did he go? The answer was he went quite wide there, but not wide enough to go all the way out into the gravel, thankfully, and he carried on that momentum, so that would have been off track. We had this happen for Jace Meyer on lap number 4. This is Meyer making his way in towards Ascari, battling side by side here with Shea Buffett, in towards that left-hander. They went, turned in, And both tries to get hooked on each other, and that's when Shea Profit went flying through the air. Car rolling over, and Antonio Bianchi going into the scene of the incident as well. And also John Stunbra there reacting. It all went wrong for Stunbra. Several tries being caught up, and it all began with Profit and Meyer. So neither driver went to give way to each other. And then we had this only months later for Leo Del Mar versus Fabian Sanchez. Well, Sanchez at the time was trying to battle his way with Adam Merchant past Shahi Zahair. It didn't work out. He went wide there, and Leo Del Mar came into the scene of the incident, not expecting Sanchez to be offline and slow, and just went straight on in. And unfortunately there, I think as much as he'll say I didn't know what was happening, I think the stewards will look at that and go, he should have perhaps been a little bit more aware. That's not to blame him, to be fair. That's what our camera angle would suggest, but of course there's always a story, and the stewards have every angle, whereas we only have what our commentator with can see. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's head back to your live racing. So a very dramatic last couple of laps, no doubt about it, but no sign of a safety car for now, which does mean we're definitely still at full pace here as we make our way on to lap number 7. We look to Elliot Court, your leader, who is now starting to pull a little bit of a gap here to Adam Merchant. So there's not been too much change between them, and Shahi Zahair, Leo Del Mar and Craig Brick complete that top 5. And it's Nick Peterson right now who finds Fitzsimmons right behind him. Now the arriving driver, racing driver here, immediately pulling over to the right, and that's to try and break the slipstream from Fitzsimmons. And Fitzsimmons here pushing on strong. Fitzsimmons, of course, started 21st, and now he's going to try and make his way into 6th. Up the inside he goes, and Fitzsimmons there makes that look as smooth as silk as he comes on through, and well, roaring his way from Ascari, now down towards Parabolica Curve. Well, you can see the number 16 driver here absolutely on a mission to try and close back up to the leaders. He's still got work to do as Nick Peterson looks to the inside. I think that's more about bleeding some of the overspeed he's picking up and sighting his own braking zone rather than trying to threaten Fitzsimmons. It's something that drivers do when they are not used to picking up a huge amount of speed in the draft of another car at certain points on the lap, and understandably they do that just to bleed 1 or 2 miles an hour, but also just make sure that they are braking into clear air. But as we see James Turnbull attacking at Sergey Proc here, well, these two have continued to fight, albeit their fight now has been escalated from a fight for 14th all the way up to 9th place. Turnbull back up the inside, he's going to go for it. Proc gives them all the space of day. Too wide they enter, but Sergey Proc on that outside to inside, he's mastered the art there of just simply holding his line, and Turnbull's got to find a bit more of an inventive way. But we ride on board here with James Turnbull, as he does bring along with him Carlos Bananas, who is a second behind, but Turnbull picking up a huge tow here, doing it all under natural engine power here, no overtake button. He'll be back to the inside into the braking zone as the cloud comes over the circuit, and well, they'll be too wide in towards Regia, and as they exit the too wide as well, great respectful racing from these two, no doubt about it, but it does bring Carlos Bananas into the equation. And we look back now for the Raccoon GP car, the Raccoon Special machine in terms of livery, and I am getting vibes there of the John Player Special of all those years ago. If anybody does remember the Lotus machinery piloted by Ayrton Senna, I believe it was in the 1980s, and the infamous images, of course, and the artwork done of him normally in the rain. I can't remember the circuit, I wonder if it was Donington, but still, that's in the past, and let's stay in the present as our American driver here for Raccoon GP right now trying to pull away and doing a good job of it, albeit it does look as though Sergey Prop right now really in the natural concertina falls to half a second back. He's got to worry about Carlos Bananas, to be fair to him, but these 3 drivers now definitely locked in for the ride here, and we are not going to complain about that. But from them, we do look behind a bit further. Renison Lowe and Fabian Sanchez a bit further back. Here is Sanchez, who after his altercation with Leo Del Mar at turns 1 and 2 a couple laps ago, he now knows there's a long way to recovery in this race, but he may just be able to make that recovery drive. He's just got to keep it together and know that it's lap after lap. Now, sadly, we have lost over half the field due to the incidents that have happened on the first couple of laps, but as they always say, what we lack in quantity, we do not lack in terms of quality for now, as we do see more of our drivers carrying on. And, well, a bit of gravel being kicked up there. Not quite sure by whom. I think it might have been Elliot Court coming out of Regia Chicane. But right now, at least, he is keeping Adam Merchant at bay. And the gap standing at 1.1 seconds. So, that seems like Adam Merchant right now, as much as he is the faster driver, he's got the distant tow, which is helping him. But for Merchant, he's not quite getting close enough. Now, is this more tactical here from your number 4 driver? Is he intentionally perhaps holding the gap back a little bit so that way he doesn't pick up too much of a tow, doesn't overheat the tyres, and also he can save a little bit of fuel? We've still got a long way to go in this race. We've got the best part of what is another 16 laps or so. So therefore for Merchant, he's got to take his time with this. As meanwhile, Sergey Prop, well, he has got to make sure that he does not push too hard too soon in the battle with Turnbull unless he thinks he can clear him immediately. Now, Carlos Bananas has fallen back off this group. earlier on this lap, so I think it was an error at the Regia chicane that's cost him some time. Meanwhile, Brock here just staying in, and well, is there any point right now in using the overtake button in this group? Probably not, as we just see Sergei Prot looking to the inside there, and now he's trying to test the waters here. His game plan is to see how close he can get in clear air, as meanwhile, well, Brick versus Simmons, and Craig Brick fighting with Fitzsimmons, but in the end lets it go into the braking zone of turn 1. And Fitzsimmons now up another place. So back to Sergei Prot, who does decide to put the overtake button down. Switch to the inside to be for James Turnbull. He's still there. And in the end, Prot goes a little bit deep. And, well, I don't think he expected Turnbull to carry on the fight. And in doing so, he's lost out there. But now they make the way up towards Copazano. They're keeping it clean for now. But understandably, this is getting a little bit fiery between these two for the right reasons. Sergei Prot, I think, thought he could get the job done. James Turnbull right now is definitely showing to Sergei, I'm not just here to make up the field. And as they make the way through left into right, not that Brock was thinking that at any point, but James Turnbull really fighting hard for these points in. This will bring Balanos right back into this. But from them, as they make the way through the Lesbos, we look back to Elliott Court versus Adam Merchant, your leaders, and now Merchant is much closer this time. Now for your number 1 driver, the defending champion of season 16. Well, what's going to be the game plan here? Does he let this go? Does he play it passive and just decide, well, I've led a few laps, so I might as well let Adam Merchant lead a couple of laps? But of course, if you do give up the lead, if you give up track position, there's always the risk that you'll never quite get it back. And is he willing to risk it? That is going to be the question that we need an answer to. As Adam Merchant right now will get closer. No overtake buttons going on here for push to pass. It would not be valuable to do so here unless Merchant felt as though he could get the move done and then potentially break away, or he's thinking about pitting early. Now, in terms of pit stops, we normally do see drivers try to go a bit longer on their first stint at most circuits, as long as they're inside the top 10. The idea being they try to split the race into what is essentially a much longer endurance style opening stint and then a sprint to the finish. Meanwhile, drivers further down the order, they may go the other way. But right now, Sergei Prot looking up the inside of Turnbull, and they are going the other way in this battle this time. Prot going from inside to outside. It doesn't work. James Turnbull once again says to him, yes, I've seen that one. We'll tick that one off the list. We're now going to see what other overtakes you want to do. And well, as the 203 driver here holds on right now, your number 96, I can understand if he's feeling a bit frustrated, but he's enjoyed himself. And we ride on board with him, looking around the outside here in towards Regia. And what can you now do when you're up against a driver in front of you who just knows every move in the book? Well, the one thing you can definitely try to do is now start to essentially fake out moves. You try to psych your rival into a mistake and not make mistakes of your own, as he does so there coming out of Lesbo 1. But the idea is now what you need to do is you need to keep the tempo and that pressure as high as humanly possible. There's only one problem with that, and you've just seen it, which is if you do that and you don't get it right, you will make mistakes of your own doing, and that gap will suddenly open up. It will double, it will multiply significantly, but Prot will be able to get back. 7 tenths of the gap here. He's well within the draft, but he's just got to cool things down a little bit, get himself mentally reset, and get ready to go on the attack once again. And if he can do that, he'll definitely have an opportunity here, potentially trying to take that place back. As they come down towards Parabolica, at least for now, the gap has opened up to a second, but this is all going to switch back and forth in time, and I suspect we will see the two of them go fighting much before what is the end of this race. Back to the leaders then. Elliott Court still ahead, and the gap has reopened now to 9 tenths. I think it has been a bit of a back and forth. Adam Merchant once again, after getting close, I think has now decided, you know what, I'm going to let the gap open up a little bit more. I have the pace advantage, I have the slipstream as well, so therefore let's just play this a bit more tactically. And Shahi Zahair in a very lonely third at the moment. Well, how exactly is he doing? And the answer is, well, his lap times are not that far off the leaders at the moment. They are relatively equal, and Leo Delmar is not quite catching up to him by comparison. So it does seem as though for Shahi Zahair, he's in control of this third place. For Leo Delmar, the man who has got a growing problem behind, particularly when the man who is right behind him is lapping a second a lap faster. That is Finley Fitzsimmons, who's on the charge, and Craig Brick as well has been brought along. Now Brick here using his overtake button, and I think the 777 driver here, he's worried about losing Fitzsimmons. I think he realises Fitzsimmons is the fastest driver, at least what he can see on circuit, and he wants to use the MSR Purple driver as his means of getting closer to Del Mar. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a smart move, because suddenly what it means is he gives himself an opportunity here to potentially chase down what would effectively be 5th place, and then potentially even go hunting after what might be a spot on the podium if it continues to move forward at that rate or not. Nick Peterson, well, he's in a bit of a lonely 7th meanwhile, but he's well clear of the next group of cars of Ramos, Turnbull, Brock and Balanas, as we see them all there in single camera shot. And all right now, all these drivers pushing onwards for what will be the last of the pain points. And well, I think everyone who's running this race right now is on course to potentially pick up points. As meanwhile, Fabian Sanchez is into the pit lane. So Sanchez is coming in. Can we see what's wrong with the car? I don't think we can, but something that's definitely gone wrong for Sanchez. We're not exactly sure why. And well, he's leaving the pit lane at the moment. Alright, Sanchez makes his way out, so I wonder if he's had a mistake somewhere, and if so, well, it might be repair work to the car that he's got done. So an extended bit of time, and in fact, I think it might be the damage he picked up in the contact with Leo Del Mar. Speaking of Del Mar, well, he's about to make contact here with a rival, because that's Finney Fitzsimmons at the inside. Proverbial contact there is, and he moves up into fourth there. Finney Fitzsimmons wasting no time in clearing the 21, and onwards he goes once again. And right now, for Fitzsimmons, this is definitely becoming a mission of how far can he go. Next target is Sharky's ahead, 2 seconds up the road. You can see it in the distance. If he gets that gap down to sub 2 seconds, he will start to pick up a small toe, and well, when he gets within 1 second, that toe will be amplified massively, and that's going to be his game plan at this point. Back to the very front, Court versus Merchant. They are still separated by 3.5 tenths. Court right now, your leader, of course, he's been leading since the very start of this race, with Merchant coming along right behind him. And I think that Adam Merchant, he's got to be thinking to himself at the moment, at the very least, which is okay. How exactly do we now expedite this? We are heading into the second half of the race. We go on to lap number 14. No sign of a pit stop out of these two at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if the pit stops will be coming within the next 5 laps. And it's then who exactly pits first, who then decides to try and go for the overcut versus the undercut, and who's got the best qualifying laps to put in when they do leave the pit lane. So that first lap out the pits is going to be the deciding factor, we reckon. Meanwhile, Shai's here. Well, he does have Finney Fitzsimmons still trying to chase him down, but to be fair to him, Fitzsimmons right now is not closing at a rapid rate of knots to the Sri Lankan driver. And I think for the Briton right now, this might be one of those situations whereby he is either going to have to back off slightly to protect the car just for a little bit longer in this stint, or he might have pushed the car already so hard to get to this point that now he's just coasting things out until he does get to the pit stop. Also there, a flash of what is the light or the halo behind the driver, which is an indication, of course, that they do have the push to pass button available. When it is continuously flashing in an intermittent fashion, well, sometimes it means it's being used, but also the more it flashes and the more red it goes towards the end, it does mean that they are starting to run low on it, and then they have used it all up when it is just a constant red. So Fitzsimmons, to be fair, needs to use the push to pass sparingly here, otherwise it might be one of those situations whereby he's actually peaked out and he's got to do everything else of his own volition versus whatever his rivals have got in the tank. But back to the Turnbull prop battle. As they fight overnight, for they were fighting over it, does look as though, with the quiet that's fallen over this battle, if anything, they are now getting closer to this man, the man in the INCA Salsa livery machine. And, well, as the INCA Queso driver makes his way onwards of Felipe Ramos, with the lovely purple pink rims there, which make it a very discernible car, we have 73 driver is being called at a rate of approximately what is half a second a lap by James Turnbull, when they both get their laps correct. So, therefore, Turnbull is going to be thinking that he can bring an 8th place spot into his repertoire. And, well, Sergei Prokop is when we look at this and thinking actually he might be helping us. Ramos is into the pits, so he decides it's time to get off the road and coming in, and I think that might be a tactical call there not to give Wes Turnbull the opportunity to catch up to him anymore and give him the toe in particular, which will see him gain natural race time. So we're keeping an eye on what's going on down the pit lane for Felipe Ramos. If he can nail that pit stop, I think he'll be very happy. And the car being serviced at the moment as Renison Lowe's also coming to the pits from the very back of the field. And Fabian Sanchez, meanwhile, still going out there, down in 13th place. But keep in mind, he is a lap down on the majority of the field at this point. But Elliot Cord and Adam Merchant still together here. And we'll wait to see which one of these two deflects to the pit lane first. Will it be the leader or will it be Adam Merchant? Now, Cord, of course, has the initiative. He is the lead car here, so he'll be the one who gets the first decision. And, well, will Adam Merchant be able to respond? Is he hoping that he pits at the same time as Court, perhaps to guarantee he's got the toe if nothing else? Well, they'll get ready to come in towards Parabolica Curve. Will we see them coming at the end of lap number 15? You see the group behind there. Shahi's there still holding the gap to Fitzsimmons, but the gap has been halved over the last couple of laps. So Fitzsimmons has got his head down and got on with the job. But through the final corner we go. And as Court makes way in, they both come in. No, it's not in from Adam Merchant. And so he decides to go a bit longer here. So here we go then. Elliot Court is going to go for the undercut strategy from the lead of the race. Adam Merchant goes one extra lap as we also hairs in. So is Fitzsimmons, so is Delmar, so is Brick. And was they all make the way on down underneath the podium rostrum right now? Will they all be hoping to be at the end of today? Well, several cars in. Nick Peterson comes in as well behind Craig Brick. I wonder if we'll see James Turnbull make his way in. Yes, we do. So perhaps the fuel tank could only go 15 laps. And well, Adam Merchant, with all the fuel saving he's been doing behind Elliot Court, he's gone one extra. Now, that is valuable information if so, because what it means is right now, Elliot Court, for the time he's spent stationary of 6.5 seconds, Shahi's edged a little bit less. Well, now we know exactly how long it may be for what has been an opening stint where you've used up the fuel as much as humanly possible because you had nobody to fuel save off of. So for Adam Merchant, the theory's got to be then that he's going to have a shorter stop by default, and then Elliott Court right now has got to absolutely maximise this lap in terms of lap time. If he does not, then is this going to swing the way of Adam Merchant? Well, we'll have to see. Leo Delmar, meanwhile, well, he is all over the back of Shahi's hair. He's gained considerably in the pit stops, as the hair, meanwhile, has lost out quite a bit. And I want to get ready to go to the braking zone here, and right now, well, Fitzsimmons, a much longer pit stop by comparison, perhaps double the time, essentially, but I wonder if Fitzsimmons has potentially decided, hold up a second, well, we'll come back to the 40 in a moment because that's James Turnbull around. Turnbull's got it wrong there. Retavino into the barrier as well. And for James Turnbull, his race is all in pieces. Well, it's got wrong for James Turnbull. And meanwhile, Adam Merchant's coming down the pit lane now. So Merchant, he has called time on this stint. Elliott Court now is the man who's going to try and beat him. As Court roars his way out of Ascari, and he's only got one more corner then a straight, but has he done enough here? And Adam Merchant surely has got to have the strategic advantage. If he's been the only driver to go 16 laps of the single fuel tank, one more than everybody else, then surely it's got to be a shorter stop unless the team make a mistake in the pit lane. Well, Merchant is being completed in his service right now, and as he makes his way on down, here's the pit limit alive. Adam Merchant, he builds up speed. Where is Elliott Court? There he is. The gap right now is in the favour of Adam Merchant. How close is it going to be towards Rettavilio? And the answer is going to be it's not close enough, and Elliott Court in the end is going to fall back to 1.5 seconds behind. He's got to attack, and the thing is he has got a luxury here, which is that Adam Merchant does have relatively cool tyres at the moment. If he has put fresh tyres on the car, I suspect he will have. They all go on at the same time as fuel goes in. Well, Adam Merchant right now needs to use this lap to warm up the tyres. He was half a second faster in the pit lane, which is what we expected, but Court right now with the warmer tyres, he can go forward attack. If he can stay within the slipstream, come the end of this lap, if he can get within about 1.2 seconds, he will be right in the hunt with Adam Merchant. He will be in the fight to the lead all the way to the finish. And will Adam Merchant, meanwhile, with the tyres that have come out of the jackets, he won't push them too hard in the initial outlap, as if he does so, the problem is he will wear them down quite quickly. Court has not had that luxury, and therefore it does mean right now for Elliott Court, will Tyre Life come back to pinch him slightly at the end of the race? Well, I doubt it, given his ability to be a bit of a tyre whisperer, but both of these drivers have been known for their excellence, both in driving smart, but also driving fast, and well, there's the proof, as Merchant has been caught up to by Elliott Court coming up for Ascari. We've got a battle for the lead on our hands, ladies and gentlemen, and this is going to go the distance. We have got another, what will be 11 laps after this one, and right now Adam Merchant may have taken the lead on strategy, but Elliott Court is right there with him and has got to now try and reel him in. We won't be if he's making mistakes like that, a parabolic curve that will cost him a couple of attempts, but of course that will be a small mistake. There's much bigger ones that can potentially be made, and we're speaking of mistakes, we had a huge one by looks to James Turnbull only moments ago, but what exactly happened to Turnbull? Here's a replay to explain. So trip back in time then, and Turnbull went deep at Rettavilio. Sergio Prot trying to go around the outside, and Turnbull in the end taking all the sausage curb, and the car, as he tried to get the power down, just snapping on him there. So completely unexpected for your 203 driver, and as he tried to get it turned, no bits of the car left anymore, and all in pieces. And for James Turnbull, it's all just gone very wrong, and his race now is in the pit lane for repairs as we head back to your live racing. But as we come on back, well, it went wrong for Turnbull, but it's going right for others, no doubt about it, as Shahi's ahead. Well, after all that gap he carved out for himself, Leo Delmar is right there with him, but the danger man behind is Fitzsimmons, in the fact, well, he had double the pit stop length, and it was even for a little bit of repair work after his excursion at Covabazano on the open lap, where he avoided that absolutely catastrophic incident for so many drivers, but he was one of the survivors of it. But right now, make no mistake, he is caught right back up to this group, and well, he could be targeting the third place spot on the podium here, but with Zuhair and Delmar fight each other as well, Fitzsimmons is going to be very tactical about how he finds his way between them all. Now, one of the things, of course, that Fitzsimmons could think about here is if this is going to be a battle for third only today, does he instead let the two in front of him fight for a little bit longer and potentially goad Delmar into driving a bit too quick? Well, Delmar's not going to give him that luxury, because up the inside he goes in towards Parabolica curve. In the end, Zuhair gives him all the space, and coming out of the corner, was Zuhair with the wider circumference here, he will naturally build up more speed now in the run down towards turn one. Puts the push to pass back on as well. This is going to enable him to get to 188 miles an hour, just that little bit quicker. You can see Delmar already there. So in the end, the overtake button's not worth it. See where they're coming towards Rettavilio. Delmar defends on the inside. He will take that third place. A lovely move there from Leo Delmar. And Zuhair takes a bit too much apex curve. That is going to bring Fitzsimmons now into the run. And Fitzsimmons immediately onto the overtake button there. You can see when it's flashing as quickly as it does there, that's when it's active, whereas the much more gradual flashes when they're running low on it. But here comes Fitzsimmons then up the inside, and Zahair here, does he fight it outside to inside at Regia? No, he does not, but this will be tactics on the Arrive and Drive Racing driver. He'll probably be thinking to himself, it's not worth me fighting with the MSR Purple car when I know I've still got a third of the race distance to go. Instead, it's more worth my time letting Fitzsimmons get up towards Del Mar and bring Del Mar back to me. So therefore, thinking about the bigger picture with Craig Brick only 3 seconds behind, and right now he's probably saying, hey guys, what about me? Because he'd love an opportunity to finish inside the top 5. He's got a bit more work to do, and he'll be hoping that Zahair, Fitzsimmons and Del Mar's fighting over these upcoming laps may be the differentiator, but we will have to wait and find out whether we can get there. Felipe Ramos, meanwhile, he's chasing after Sergei Prog, and well, these two have swapped places around in recent history, with Sergei Prog up to 8, Ramos falling back a little bit further, and the change happening in the pit stops actually, with Ramos losing out with a much longer stop by comparison. So therefore it's gone backwards for him. As Carlos Banano's was had a bit of a spin at Regia. He's got it righted. He's still in 10th place, 26 seconds ahead of Renison Lowe, with having Sanchez your last runner at the moment in 12th place, and also the last driver who can pick up points here today. So 12 runners left. Everyone who finishes this race, as long as they finish it now, is guaranteed at least a point. But who else is going to survive, and who will fall to the race of attrition here? Because we are down to 12 runners at the moment. And whilst we do see Finley Fitzsimmons, well, ahead as a hair, but now chasing after Del Mar. And well, not long left in this race for him, and indeed third place will be the best he can achieve unless there's any drama between the leaders towards the very end. But right now for Fitzsimmons, surely that podium's got to be the target, knowing that after it all went wrong in race number 1, he cannot afford to keep dropping points like this to his championship lead. Yes, it's a comfortable one coming into this round, but it won't be anywhere near as comfortable now, particularly if Adam Merchant can make this back-to-back wins and pick up the maximum possible points in the races. He does that, and Sonny, we are seriously going to be talking about next time out in round number 7, we're going to be talking about the risk essentially of what is Finley Fitzsimmons losing this championship lead and falling backwards into the clutches of his rivals, and that of course will be at none other than the circuit of Barcelona Catalunya in a week's time, a circuit where overtaking and battling is definitely going to be extremely difficult, and track position will be absolutely key. But that's then, we're here now, and as we come back to Fitzsimmons, he can only deal with the cars that he's been played in his hand. And what he's going to do here is look to the inside of Leo Del Mar for a brief moment. That there is a bit more of a jaunt out. I think that's trying to get into Del Mar's head to try and say to him, look, Leo, I'm here. Don't worry about your braking zone. Worry about me instead. And when the end coming out to Parabolica, it's worked because Del Mar's had a slow run there. Fitzsimmons immediately now on the attack of the inside. And Del Mar going out to the outside. This is going to be the start of the run. The outside to the inside. But Del Mar in the end can't follow in. Fitzsimmons immediately swerving offline there to make sure that Del Mar has no toe to work with. Finley Fitzsimmons right now, he's not here to play. He is meaning serious business, and he moves into third place there as he roars his way out the corner. And the MSR Purple driver right now knowing that he cannot afford any more mistakes, so he's not going to make any and just leave Leo Del Mar and show he's a hair behind. That's going to be the target, and will Del Mar trying to come back at him here up the run towards Regia. And Fitzsimmons taking his time there to pull across, and understandably his game plan really being to make sure that Del Mar then knows that that third place is no longer coming back to him, and instead he's got to focus on holding on to fourth, which he's a hair behind him. But Zahair going a bit wide there into Lesmo 1. That's going to be a small mistake. Well, he's got to be careful of those, because that might be a sign of tyre life going against him. That's going to cost him a lot of time. It cost him the tune of 1.2 seconds there, and for Shahi Zahair, such a small mistake, but such a critical one. And right now holding himself back a little bit, as Craig Brick meanwhile now has gained a second, and Brick is inching closer and closer. Can the 777 there be lucky today and get inside the top 5? Was ahead, one to make another mistake like that, which is the dirty end, the distant toe. And of course, every time you see yourself move a little bit closer to the car in front or a little bit further back, the amount of dirty air that washes over the front of the car and how it changes the aerodynamics of the car, it's minuscule, but it is so critical, and all these drivers have got to be so sensitive to that as well, particularly at such a circuit such as Monza, whereby every little bit of aero matters in the corners. But here comes Del Mar back at Fitzsimmons, and he's doing his own jinx to the inside there. Does it again now, and Leo Del Mar in the end, well, I think that might have been to actually bleed off some speed there rather than fight for it. So Leo Del Mar, I think, saying to Finley Fitzsimmons, what am I going to do? And in the end, it is Del Mar just simply sits there in fourth place. I wonder if that's the calm before the storm, or whether alternatively Leo Del Mar right now is really letting the MSR Purple driver go. Well, we will see what's to happen between them. As meanwhile, back to your leader of Adam Merchant. 1.4 seconds is the gap to court as the sun is hidden behind the clouds for a brief moment. this afternoon in Italy. And well, right now, Elliott Court, as much as he wants that win, well, given the fact he took the run-up spot in race number 1, being back-to-back runner-up here today, it's still going to be worth a good haul of points. But, of course, there's always that little devil on your shoulder who says we want more for Elliott right now. I think he'd love to take a win. He'll be absolutely ecstatic with the win, given the way the season has gone thus far. But can he get it? Given the gap is 1.7 seconds, and Adam Merchant right now in control. Well, getting ready for what will be 5 more laps left on the clock here. Well, in fact, 4 more laps left on the clock. And as he comes down in towards Parabolica Curve right now, no change between them. As meanwhile, in the fight for 3rd, all the way through to 6th, well, there's not good news for Shahi Zahair. Red flashing light. That means the push to pass button has practically been exhausted. And as he comes on down, well, Craig Brick won't be aware of that. And how would he be able to get aware of it, so you may be wondering, given he's the chasing car? Well, one thing he might be able to do, if he's very astute in watching lap times, depending on how much overtake button he's got of his own, he could deploy it for a couple of laps and just see whether the gap to Zahair naturally comes down. Because if it does, given the fact that these two have been quite equal on pace when they've been running in clear air together with no push-to-pass button, well, he would be able to understand if he's able to gain quite significantly for a couple of laps, or at least for a couple of points on a lap, then he might be able to guess that Zahair has nothing left. But otherwise, right now, he's just got to think about this tactically. He won't have that information. He's going to have to guess it. And that's why the intriguing things, of course, with these Super Formula 23 machines is in the fact that unless you're the lead car and you're able to spot it in your rearview mirror, or alternatively, you've got a spotter at circuit who's able to see through the circuit side cameras and also looking down the start-finish straight, you won't know until you're able to put the maths together yourself. And it keeps you guessing every step of the way. But, of course, these drivers will come with their teams to each and every circuit and trying to understand and get as much information on their rivals as possible. Indeed, it shows how much it means to them all in terms of wanting to pick up those places in every single precious point. But as we do see Brick falling back a little bit, they're losing the 10th coming out of Lesmo 2. And meanwhile, Zahair carrying on. Well, then Leo Del Mar right now losing out versus Fitzsimmons, but still well clear of Zahair by comparison. Further back, Renison Lowe's had a bit of a moment, coming down in towards Retavilio, and we go straight on there, but still for your number 69 driver, he's not giving up, he's making sure he finishes this race, and we're good on him for doing so, making sure he does pick up some points as he makes his way down towards the Regia chicane. Car going quite slowly there, and I wonder if he's burning down a slowdown penalty for what was the run to the runoff area. That's normally the case, and now he'll be back up to speed very shortly. We're back to the front. Adam Merchant here, currently leading. 3 laps left, including the one he's on. Gap 2.4 seconds to Elliott Court. He is maintaining that gap at a comfortable rate as, hold up a second, we've lost Finley Fitzsimmons. Surely we're not going to lose him here right towards the end of the race with only 2.5 laps left. If that is the case of Finley Fitzsimmons, and we've just had a retirement for Fitzsimmons due to a technical issue, as it's causing me a stumble over my words, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you one thing, that's suddenly going to be absolutely heart-wrenching for the number 16 driver, and suddenly, what was a difficult day in Germany has suddenly been turned into an absolute nightmare here at Monza. And for Fitzsimmons, I think that is it. I think I'm hearing in my ear right now that there has been a technical failure of the number 16, and as a result, the car's out of the race, and the Leo Del Mar now, what was looking to be an absolutely certain 4th place, is now looking to be another podium for him. And we'll back-to-back 3rd places here. The team will be absolutely ecstatic, and Shahi Zahair will be thinking to himself, right, we've got some work to do, as he is on the last dregs of the overtake button. He immediately switches it on, and now the light is off there. So that means he's got nothing left whatsoever. So Zahair's got to do this all his own volition. As meanwhile, it's a solid green light for Leo Del Mar. He's been using it absolutely sparingly, and the Frenchman absolutely putting together a brilliant run with regards to using the overtake button by comparison. And we have confirmation Finley Fitzsimmons is out of this race. So the final spot of the podium now is going to either go to Del Mar, Zahair or Brick. It looks like it's going to Del Mar comfortably at the moment, but the number 10 is still pushing on here and trying to pick up the distant toe, and Craig Brick is being brought along for the ride. They are getting close to the trio, but do keep in mind that for Leo Del Mar, he has all the resources in hand here to make sure this is the easiest run to the finish by comparison. But what this will do to the Drivers' Championship at this point, with Adam Merchant picking up, if things finish as they currently stand, expected to pick up the maximum possible points here for both wins. That is going to bring that gap down to Fitzsimmons quite a lot by the fact it'll be a 50-point lead that's going to be slashed down to the best part of what will be around about 30 to 25 points if our mental mathematics is correct. And Elliott Court Sonny will take hope here that he might be able to defend this championship crown, because he will be brought up the order as well. And with 3 rounds remaining after today, well, if it's to happen again to Fitzsimmons, I think Sonny, we will be on level scores with 2 rounds to go, or even going into that season finale. But as we can see here, Merchant Court right now, both with their push-to-pass buttons on, and they're both right now leaving nothing unchecked, as they have got one more lap. We're on lap 25 of 26, and now we head on to the final one. The white flag gets ready to come out. We're going to complete this race well in ample time with the absence of a safety car, but one more to go, and for Adam Merchant right now, it is the fastest lap there of 27.255. He's going for the bonus points as well, and Elliott Court, meanwhile, trying to do the same as he set a personal best of 27.477. So the hunt for the bonus point is on, but who exactly is going to get it, we will see, as meanwhile, Leo Del Mar, with a gap there of 2.2 seconds over Shahi Zahair, he's looking safe for third place. He's got all the push to pass available to him as well. The number 21 driver here has absolutely min-maxed this race to perfection, and he's going to be rewarded not with a fourth, but now with a return to the podium for the second and final time today. As Zahair and Craig Brick look to carry on, they're doing a good job in their own right, and Nick Peterson, meanwhile, well, this race is not to Revive and Drive Racing. This is definitely going to be a huge haul of points in their team's championship campaign, and it is going to comfortably set themselves up inside that top 10 for the rounds that do remain. With Sergei Prok not able to quite respond after he did look to chase down Peterson in the early stages, but things have gone a bit backwards since then, and unfortunately for 96 driver, it's going to be a 7th place here today, unless any magic happens in the final lap. But still, conversely, I think he'll be happy to see some more points come his way, given the pit lane start at the beginning of today. But from him, we look back to your leader. There he is, as they've been using up all the push to pass it. They're going for the fastest lap, and he's currently purple in all the sectors of Adam Merchant. Elliott Court is on a personal best, but he is not matching this man at all. And as he makes his way through the final quarter, well, for Adam Merchant in Germany, it was 2 huge wins that have meant a lot. And here it's another pair of wins for the Magnificent Merchant as he comes across the line, and he takes glory here in Monza in the feature race ahead of Elliott Court, runner-up at 9. His title defence now is very much back alive. It has been resuscitated, and then it will be Leo Del Mar who comes out to the final quarter to make it back-to-back podiums in third place. And what a great performance for him there, ahead of Shahi Zahair, who just misses the podium, but a full place today. And you can see how happy and how much it means to him, ahead of Craig Brick, who rounds off your top 5. He's also pleased with this one in what has been a race of attrition. Nick Peterson comes up through. It is double points for Revive and Drive Racing, and for the number 24 driver, it's a nice haul of points in his Drivers' Championship, ahead of Sergei Prok, who in the end finished in 7th just behind. And then we will see Felipe Ramos coming through to take on home 8th place here. Some points that are precious. They don't normally come to the number 73 driver, but they've come to him in this one, as he finishes where he started, and it's 2 8th place finishes, and then it will be a further 11.3 seconds before we do get to Carlos Balanas, who comes out the final quarter, and as he does so, well, finishing in 9th place there. A great effort from him in the 83, and then we will see Renison Lowe coming through to complete what will be that top 10 in due course. It has been a bit of a difficult race for Renison Lowe, but to be fair, after starting 20th from the very last spot, he is going to pick up some points here, and he will be your last lead lap finisher, as Fabian Sanchez has already finished his race a lap down, but well done to him taking 11th place in the number 8 and showing that it's all about committing to the finish. And the same for Renison Lowe here, as it doesn't matter how many times this race has been turned upside down for him, he will round off the top 10 and bring on home some rather valuable points. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, he calls them down. Indeed, several drivers just take it nice and easy to the finish now. Well, Leo Del Mar and Shahi Zahair have enjoyed a great race today, but Del Mar getting the upper hand for that third place after Finley Fitzsimmons' unexpected technical retirement. Well, let's take a look to the scenic view and to those race results and walk you through them all, subject to any Stewards' inquiries. And in what was an absolutely incredible race number 2 here today at the Monza Grand Prix circuit for round number 6 of season 17 of the League Zero Formula Series, brought to you on iRacing and proudly powered by none other than INCA Salsa. Well, it was drama on the opening couple of laps. There were cars into the air, there were plenty into the gravel, but Adam Merchant saw none of that, and the Squid Gang Racing driver in the end used strategy in order to outsmart Elliott Court and bring on home his second win of the day. For the Squid Gang Racing driver right now, the door number 4, not representative of the fact that he's going to try and be number 1, and was able to beat the number 1 of DDK Racing's Elliott Court there by 3.7 seconds at the close, and Adam Merchant on the final lap as well, delivering the fastest lap of the race, a 26.84. But for Court, still, being second is not a bad thing when you make it back-to-back second place finishes, and therefore pick up the absolutely brilliant haul of points that keeps your championship very much alive, with Leo Del Mar in third there for Rodent Racing, and the Frenchman delivering back-to-back podiums, and he'll be pleased with that 'cause it's been a long time since we've seen him on the podium, let alone making it a double in a day. Shahi Zahair in the end couldn't quite catch up to Del Mar in their brilliant battle, But he'll still be happy with that 4th place and knowing that the results are coming with the perseverance for Arrive and Drive Racing. And he was ahead of Craig Brick there, who round off the top 5, and the INCA Salsa Racing Drive once again delivering some nice points and also a very good result there. Nick Peterson took 6th place for Arrive and Drive Racing, therefore a double for the team, indeed in terms of points earned in races. And then it was Sergey Proc taking home 7th place there, the privateer, who, given how it started today, finish it in 7th, he won't be too upset about that. He was ahead of Felipe Ramos, the INCA Queso driver, who had a happy race, no doubt about it, ahead of Carlos Banos for Raccoon GP, and behind the Mexican driver it was Renison Lowe for Team Boats, who ran off your top 10 and your lead lap finishers. It was a lap down to Fabian Sanchez, with the damage picked up after his contact with Leo Delmar in the early stages, and therefore the INCA X51C driver, and it was all about just getting home for some valuable points. And Finley Fitzsimmons there with his retirement from the race, unfortunately, well, if he is going to pick up points, it'll be one. But the MSR Purple driver, knowing that right now this championship campaign it's very much starting to come undone. Then it was James Turnbull, the first of many a major retiree earlier on in the race, Turnbull being one of them after his altercation with the barriers at Retevilio. And we also did see early retirements for Ricardo Espino, Shea Bruffett, John Stumbra, Antonio Bianchi, Jace Meyer, Arturo Mayorga, Matt Strong, and also we did see retirements for none other than Gareth McAllister, Elliot Rolls, Sarah Zainab, Robert Nobles, and Demont Dotson. And perhaps one of the biggest retirements of them all in there is Elliot Rolls for DDK Racing. And suddenly, for the Teams Championship campaigners, this championship now is definitely off the rails once again, as MSR Purple, well, they've not had a good day here at the office either. Who is actually going to be leading the Teams Championship after today? Well, it will be MSR Purple, but understandably, the momentum is not with the leaders whatsoever. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our rundown of the results. And well, that completes all of our racing here for round number 6. And what a pair of races it have been today. Monza always delivers drama, but not the drama we've expected. And indeed, it has been a very big change to complexion of the championship, but still, more to come, no doubt about it. There's plenty more rounds in the tank with 3 to go. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the League Zero Formula Series, about how you can potentially be on the grid and join all the racing on what is a weekly basis, well, there's no better time to do so, and to get all the information you need to be able to get onto the grid, all you need to do is go to the official website, and that is at www.leaguezero.net. That website appearing on screen here, it's the #1 source of all things League Zero, and we'll right at the centre of the website. If you do want to get to the beating heart of the community, do join the official Discord, because there you can get yourself up to speed the quickest, and you can get on the grid with us and enjoy the racing as early as next round if you want to. But if you're not looking to go to the Discord, well, of course, you can stay on the website and find out all the information, all the rules and regulation, also the Hall of Fame there. There's plenty of information for you to dissect if you are a little bit of an anorak. But also on top of that, we would like to take this moment to say a huge thank you to our title sponsor, and that does include none other than INCA Salsa. And well, if you are a fan of salsa and are looking to taste the very best, then look no further than INCA Salsa. Containing only the freshest ingredients, no gluten and no added sugar, just like the finest authentic salsa should. Once you've had a taste of the incredible family recipe salsa from Julio Espino, you'll never want to taste any of the rest. To put yourself in pole position to enjoy the best salsa you'll ever have, do head to their website, and that is at shop-inca-salsa.myshopify.com today. We'd also like to take a moment, ladies and gentlemen, to say a big thank you to our other series sponsors, who do include MSR Performance Engineering and Team Goon Squad. And with that, attention now turns to next round, and with 3 rounds to go, next up on the destination hit list, it is going to be Spain for the circuits of Barcelona, Catalonia. And there at its historical layout on what will be Thursday, the 19th of February 2026, our drivers will look to do battle at a circuit where track position could be the kingmaker for many. But we'll bring you all the racing action as if it were live on Friday, the 20th of February 2026. So until then, well, what has it been today in the Drivers' Championship? It has been another dismal day for Finley Fitzsimmons and a championship lead that is being slashed apart, as meanwhile Adam Merchant seems to be unstoppable. And as for the Teams Championship, well, MSR Purple will be holding on, with them stumbling just as much as the DDK Racing team, but other teams, including Squid Gang Racing, are now growing much closer behind. How will the story continue next time? We'll tune in next week to find out. But until then, we have been the League Zero Formula Series. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. You've been tuning to a Paul Walsh production. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.